Wrong. What does it mean to be wrong? Is it wrong to misunderstand a game, to assume a lack of depth? Is it wrong to be manipulated, to be controlled as if a puppet on strings? Is it wrong to be born in an abusive household, for your only path forward to be what society deems as wrong? I don't know. Or rather, it's difficult to put into words. After all, you need to meet her to have a chance at understanding. Nicole. Or not? But don't worry, you'll see her soon. I was not born like this. None of us were. This school, our homes, our families, they created us, molded us, turned us into the people we are today. Yet, instead of reaching out a helping hand, you persecute us, glare at us like the garbage we are. Please, just get me out of here. Welcome to the lives of they whose fates were rigged against them from the very beginning. Welcome to Class of 09. Johnny, you're there, right? Yeah. Why are we whispering again? We're the only ones here, and why the hell did you pick this place anyway? It's really dark and dirty. Well, never mind that. Why'd he give the job to us? Did you see that intro? Well, I guess. What about it? Johnny, were you even watching? Look at us, Johnny. We're goofy-looking chickens. If we went to a public place, we'd be shot. Isn't it a little bit weird to have such a solemn intro and then follow it up with us? I mean, true that. The intro was pretty cool. Yeah. It was cool, Johnny. Anyways, your lost cause. Give me a moment. I need to get this all out. Oi! Guy in charge of this place. You're a cunt! Did you actually just expect us to figure it out and be all la-di-da-da about it? Yes. Yes, I did. Now please, shut up and make the intro. It was literally your one job. Oh. I see. Well, I'll get right on it. Okay. Class of 09 is a game. There's a lot of anime going on. Sorry folks, already had enough of that. Anyways, so you guys know Class of 09, right? You probably do, but if you don't, it's labeled as an anti-visual novel, where our protagonist, Nicole, has been tasked with rejecting everyone, and really just being an all-around prick. Seems pretty cut and dry, right? Wrong. Nicole isn't exactly the best at being a bad person. She's a piece of shit, but also not? Don't worry, I'll explain everything later on, but just remember, she's going to Lake Braddock. And well, that's exactly what you gotta do to survive. Even so, that doesn't put a damper on the comedy of the game. Nicole is our witty queen after all, and that's exactly why the game's so overlooked. Nobody's thought, wow, this super funny satire based on real-world events giving us representation for perspectives that have been yearning to be understood for millennia probably has lore and incredibly deep, complex characters. Until me, babe! Payback. But you were just yapping anyway. Oh, and excuse my obvious character pivot done for the sake of the audience and a bad joke, but Big Guy forgot to introduce the cast to you guys. I'll just set the stage real quick. Literally. Okay. Nicole! That's so wrong. Okay, so the characters whose names you need to know are Nicole, the main character, Jecka, her best friend, Kylar, the jock, Jeffrey, the nerd, and Crispin, the gamer. These guys are only a small portion of the cast, but you'll just have to bear with me. Everyone else is either self-explanatory or isn't referenced before you have the necessary context. Alright, with that all done and dusted, let's move on, eh? So, now you know all about what's in store for you for our analysis of the main game. But there's a little bit more to this than what you might think. You see, whenever you beat the game for the very first time, whether you graduated valedictorian or got the school firebombed, you'll see a little pop-up in the bottom right of your screen. It's a message. Who could it be from? Maybe Jecka if you're lucky, but if you decide to keep playing the game, keep getting new endings, new messages, you'll notice there's a trend. Almost all of them are from an unknown number. And this person, they're not the type of guy you want messaging you. BAM! Check this place out. It's what you'd expect. Messy and disorganized. But come on, you've got to at least give me this one single thing. I totally rock the PI look. You know it, don't lie. I mean, look at this! The pin... Oh my god, my wall! Absolutely not. Anyways, moving on. Come on over here. Wait, okay, what I'm about to do is going to completely ruin the budget of the video. So, motion blur! We're gonna need to simplify all this because there are just too many characters to cover them all at the same depth. So, I just want to get everybody we can immediately rule out from being the messenger and move them out of the way. Namely the characters that have absolutely zero or just not enough characterization throughout the game, cause, screw you. Anyways, those are Trody, Megan, Hunter, Kyle, Braxton, Emily, Ari, Kelly, and Karen. And there's some teachers too! But I'll just go ahead and rule them all out because the messages clearly outline graduating and greatly imply an acquaintancy with Nicole. So they're definitely a student. That also rules out Nicole's mom, her brother, and anyone else who's not a student at Lake Braddock. Don't worry, if they've got any depth, they'll be covered later. But at least for now, off the table you go. Now, on top of those guys, there's two other characters we can pretty assuredly rule out, being Jecka and Crispin. And the reason's pretty simple. Just that their phone numbers can't be the messengers. Here's Crispin's phone number, right above his dick. And Jecka's already a contact, so it appearing as a random unknown number would be pretty weird, right? Jeez, this has been quick. We're already down to only two characters, Jeffrey and Kylar. Now, if you'll just follow me over here. By the way, the screen's magic. It can make a fully edited YouTube video from just me talking. Sorry, back to the script. Let's figure this out then, damn it! If you use subtitles, you need to listen up. Class of 09's character dialogue is mostly at the bottom of the screen, so naturally, it's not recommended for you to have your captions there. For all you computer users, all you have to do to fix this is left-click on the subtitles and drag them wherever you want. But if you're on mobile, start by disabling YouTube subtitles, then go into your phone settings and click into accessibility. After you drag down a little bit, enable the option Live Captions. If you're on iOS, although it might be the same for Android, and you can't see this, you need to go into your language settings and change your English region to either English US or English Canada. And if you've managed to do all that, you can now drag your captions just as if you were on a laptop. Alright, now that we've got that covered, on to... I guess it's pretty fitting, starting off the analysis with a character who just can't take being anywhere but first. from racism to a sexuality for rapists to an incredibly unstable mind that can be spurred to suicide from a single rejection. Kylar is truly a narcissist? Huh? Where'd that come from? Oh, only over 3,000 words of analysis, but don't you worry, I've condensed it down for you. Determining if someone is a narcissist can be a lengthy process. There's a whole lot of symptoms and a whole lot of behavioral patterns that you'll need to look out for, but they all generally follow similar trends. Here's 3 major umbrella symptoms that we can categorize the rest under: extreme arrogance, low empathy, and they can't take being criticized. These traits come together to make a manipulative, impulsive, and often terrible person whose true colors are usually shown when the world they have in their head doesn't quite line up with the one in reality. Out of all these symptoms, these are the ones that Kylar demonstrates during the game. But of course, I'm not just gonna say that, I'm gonna show you.
What's up, you whores?
Wow.
Hi, Kylar.
Alright, damn. Did you guys get an invite to Kelly's pool party?
I don't want to be responsible for you ruining the party, but I also don't want to be responsible for you crashing it out of roid rage. Nicole's choice.
Fine. Nicole, I know I called you a whore like 2 minutes ago, but could you let me go with you just this once?
Immediately we can see a lack of care and consideration for others' feelings, and just a tad bit of sexism, or in other words, looking down on people they feel are unimportant. He doesn't even apologize for calling them whores when he's literally trying to get them to do him a favor. Yes, degrading is definitely the way you get people to do what you want.
Yeah, and her pool stuff is sick. They got those 4-foot-long syringe water gun things.
What are you, 10?
Whatever, just a little fun on the side while picking up bitches.
I've been here for a year and never once heard of someone having sex with you.
I've been here since 3rd grade and haven't heard it.
Nuh-uh. Remember freshman year with Jenny Fillmore?
She was unconscious. How do you still brag about that?
Yeah, Kylar's fucked up. But the interaction actually shows a lot of depth. His lack of impulse control, that his ability to interact with other people sucks balls, and a major case of arrogance. Which I'd just like to say that a tendency for rape obviously reveals someone's lack of empathy, but even on top of that, it shows an extreme version of the very dangerous belief that you don't even need to ask people's permission for things, because they'll just do what you want anyway, which is most definitely untrue. Anyways, so we've seen a good bit of Kylar's personality now, how he lives in his own little bubble of self-importance. Now, I want to look at his behavior when that bubble pops.
Oh, what the fuck? Everyone's against me! I want to go home and stab my hamster!
God damn, that was violent. How do you even get that angry?
Kylar, you won't be laying a hand on our lovely and very beautiful new student, Nicole.
You get told not to beat women. Okay, well, obviously there's a reason he's trying to hit her. Maybe it's at least somewhat justifiable?
You are a quintessential dipshit.
He got called a dipshit after harassing her and revealing he's sexist. Okay, I just want to say that Nicole is obviously not the best person here. She probably deserves getting called a dipshit too. Like, in the beginning, Kylar was just trying to push her into putting some effort. He actually acted pretty cool besides calling her a bitch, but with all the subtle sexism, clear instabilities, rudeness, and inability to pick up on her hinting to just screw off, he deserved getting called a dipshit. By the way, I say hints pretty lightly. She buddy called the guy a slur for God's sake. Though, let's be honest, he's probably into that. Anyways, that's besides the point. From the moment Nicole challenged him in his beliefs, he became incredibly defensive, and as her defiance continued, that defensiveness grew into anger, and then that anger grew into a thirst for her blood, which, once built up, has to get out somehow. And when the coach put a stop to his assault on Nicole, obviously with ulterior motives, but we'll get into that later, Kylar decided his new target would just have to be his little cute hamster, leading to the outburst we can see right here. Alright, we've seen a lot of... wait... what's this?
You ever heard that one phrase, we can either choose intelligence or happiness? Well, assuming it's real, I don't feel bad telling you to never talk to me again. Your dipshit brain shouldn't take it too hard.
No, you don't understand.
You're not. Are you crying?
It's just... No, you're being mean to me.
What? Is this really the same Kylar as before? I didn't take him as the emotion. Oh, wait. I think I get it. Underlying characterization? Narcissists, especially ones who aren't the sharpest tools in the shed, will often have feelings of insecurity, shame, humiliation, or depression when they aren't able to live up to the usually impossible standards they set for being worth something. For Kylar, this comes out primarily around the topic of women, especially Nicole, and this actually makes a lot of sense because one of the main things that can consume a narcissist's thoughts are that of the perfect mate, and for Kylar, that's Nicole, at least when she leads him on a bit. Now, these feelings run so deep with Kylar that he can be driven to actual suicide with what feels like just a couple sentences, and his obsession gets so intense at times that it really makes me question whether or not he's an actual narcissist, since he seems to genuinely care about Nicole. However, narcissists do have the capacity to care for people, just in an unhealthy, obsessive way where they might just see them as objects. Sound familiar? Oh yeah, I forgot to say, narcissists are massive fucking bigots! Commonly.
Yeah, he had sex with slaves, gross. No. Yes, fuck you. I want rap music off the radio so wigger kids like you could suffer.
How am I a wigger?
Just like liking black people or something, whatever. All these Mexican kids act like America's so racist when they got the fucking red carpet rolled out for everything.
You mean like affirmative action? I think that's what they call it.
I call it fucking gay. Who's with me?
Due to their high self-importance and low capacity for empathy, it's common to find narcissists discriminating against anyone different from themselves, other races, genders, ethnic groups, etc. And Kylar is no exception. I mean, if there's a form of discrimination, Kylar is there. Racism, sexism, anti-Semitism, homophobia, even though he's implied to be closeted by Nicole, which might just tie up as some deep-rooted insecurity, Kylar is there. Alright, we've got ourselves a quintessential dipshit narcissist, allegedly. He doesn't really have much depth besides, I am like the worst person possible. Okay, for the sake of the thousands of words I've written about him, that is a joke. Yeah, I'm being serious. It really was a joke. Remember how I began this video? If I were to just conclude Kylar's character as simply an irredeemable piece of garbage, well, I wouldn't want you to be subjected to an analysis made by somebody like that. I want to understand why Kylar is Kylar. Narcissism is a personality disorder that can arise from, although not limited to, neglect, unstable nurturing environments, and one's guardians putting excessive emphasis on materialistic aspects of life, such as money, status, or external achievements, while underindulging with the more personal and social facets of development, these being their self-esteem, empathy, and social skills. But how does that tie into Kylar, I hear you ask? Well, to answer that, we're gonna have to take a quick little look into his origin. Born diagnosed with mental retardation and heavily implied to be homosexual, or at the bare minimum, bi-curious, Kylar's seemingly grown up with mostly absent parents. He's a known drug abuser, even has a drawer filled to the brim with Percocet. The only thing he really has is his prowess within the sport of lacrosse, a venture inherited directly from his father. Do you see it yet? Where the connection lies? No? Well, let's just go through each of these points one by one. I'm sure you'll start to see it soon enough. He was born diagnosed with mental retardation. For parents, the revelation that your child's been born with a disability that will inhibit their potential for the rest of their entire life is, well, it would be awful. And it's a very plausible reason for why his parents could have backed out of his life. I mean, why deal with all that extra work if he's just going to be the same old mentally disabled Kylar at the end of it? Okay, neglect is already a bad sign, but these troubles continue on within his identity, where he's heavily implied to be homosexual, or at the bare minimum, bi-curious. With the game taking place in the 2000s, and his parents never being present for him to develop any sense of self or real self-confidence, this would most definitely cause further huge instabilities within his character. And this idea's proof of concept may make itself apparent through Kylar's brutal hatred of essentially all marginalized groups. Being someone who's so consistently self-loathing for being a part of one, it's very possible that he's simply projecting that hate upon the people around him, trying to distance himself as much as he can from his true nature. And bathed in vulnerability, Kylar's given a seemingly infinite supply of hard drugs. Percocet. Now he's a drug addict, but as large as that may seem, it's only an enabler, something to further tear open that already gigantic hole. A hole that was left by something or someone else. The only thing Kylar has is the sport of lacrosse. How did he start playing lacrosse? Do you remember? He followed his father's footsteps. Narcissism can arise from guardians putting excessive emphasis on materialistic parts of life, such as money, status, or external achievements. It is incredibly possible that due to his immediate exclusion from most intellectual opportunities, his family looked at other ways for their efforts to be paid back, notably lacrosse. However, despite now having something for him to strive for, they're still dissatisfied with their kid. They've already given up on properly parenting him, but they still want to see results. Narcissism can arise from guardians underindulging with the more personal and social aspects of development, these being their self-esteem, empathy, and social skills. I believe Kylar could have just been a normal kid, but his parents destroyed any chance of that. Now he'll forever be a self-destructive, unempathetic dipshit. Is he wrong for that? Before we move on from this, I just want to say that I absolutely do not condone any of the things that Kylar does. They are awful atrocities that should never be downplayed, ever. But I simply believe that instead of blaming these people, directing all of our hatred towards them, we should instead look to them as victims who know no better. And we should redirect our scorn towards the people enabling them, the ones actually creating the awful nurturing environments that lead to their very existence. And as a society, we should prioritize rehabilitation, not punishment. Alright, with all that said and done, Kylar definitely does seem like a pretty good candidate to be the messenger. But there's just one problem. Jeffrey is a weeb. He's pretty good with his academics, even graduated valedictorian, but his mind works a little bit differently. And because of that, he's bullied by every single person he comes into contact with. By the way, when I say different, I mean he isn't the best with his social skills. He just doesn't understand them. And the reason for that? It could just be that he's never gotten the chance to really build those skills, to have an actual conversation with someone who doesn't secretly hate him. And while that's bound to be a part of it, I don't think it paints the full picture. In fact, I believe he has autism, and I've done an ungodly amount of research to prove it. But first, let's just try and understand what autism actually is. Originating from differences in the brain, autism, or autism spectrum disorder, is a developmental disorder which can vary incredibly in severity, and causes those who have it to be, well, different. And different can mean a lot of different things. But this disorder will usually show its fruit through the behavior, communication, interactions with their environment, and learning. A lot of the time, that fruit's rotten, giving those with a disorder a massive detriment in the aforementioned spaces, though primarily within their communicative skills. But as I mentioned earlier, there are varying severities. Autism is a spectrum after all, even if it is a normal spectrum. So, some are high functioning, and others, well, it can get so bad that they don't even talk at all. Even so, those laid with heavier burdens can still overcome their symptoms and flourish. And a lot of them do, but there's still a major issue. The diagnosis of autism, along with the struggles associated with it, are often taken by the masses and either romanticized into God's gifts of genius, or turned into an insult for when you just got TK'd right before acing in CS. Oddly specific, but let's go on. Both of these connotations can be incredibly harmful in their own different ways. For example, talking about someone's struggles and then labeling them as a sign of a gift that in reality they might not have comes across as incredibly patronizing. And using it as an insult, I don't think I need to explain why that's harmful. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk, but now let's talk Jeffrey. He set out to be perceived as the antithesis, as someone who gets no attention whatsoever, of Nicole, a person who gets more attention than they could ever want or need. There's a reason I use the word perceived, but we'll talk more about that once we actually get into Nicole and the themes of the game. Anyways, every time Jeffrey makes an appearance, it reveals more about his personality, respective disorder, and suffering. In terms of depth, Kylar just cannot compare even in the slightest, so this section is going to be structured a little bit differently from his. Instead of only sticking to the topic of his disorder, which I only did for Kylar because there's not really much else about him, I'm going to tackle Jeffrey's character in a little bit more of a general manner, and then derive more specific points from it as we go along. Alright, just for the sake of future reference, let's visualize the symptoms of Jeffrey's disorder. Autism. Anything involving body language, or just in general, things we can't see as a player, have to be removed, since, well, we physically can't determine them. Now, as we go along, these will be checked off, but I don't want to limit Jeffrey to just his disorder, so once again, we're going to be covering him in a more general manner than Kylar. Okay, here we go! First of all, I want to go into a little more depth about Jeffrey's social situation. It's grim. Due to him being kind of a weirdo, okay, he's pretty weird. Alright, fine, the guy's a creep. He's bullied, manipulated, alone. Putting it into perspective, imagine that, if you're not already, in high school. The only people who aren't beating you up or just plain ignoring you are only pretending to like you, manipulating you, trying to extort the little worth you have to them, your lunch money, your smarts. Oh, and by the way, there's no running away from this. At home, you've got a gun nut dad who makes you scared. That'd suck, right? On the note of being manipulated, I'm pretty sure he's in on it. To an extent, at least. I mean, he's really smart, and he basically confirmed it too during a big monologue about his experiences. Now, you may be asking, oh, Flocker, if he knew he was being manipulated, why would he keep letting it happen? Simply put, in his mind, being manipulated and filled with fake love is better than being nothing. And this is reinforced during the White Pride endings, where Jeffrey openly confesses that he didn't join the WPP, a white supremacy group headed by the teacher known as Mr. White, that preys upon the students of Lake Braddock because he agreed with them or anything, but because they pretended to care about him. And that, while it wasn't real, it was an escape from all that bullying he's always subjected to. Oh wait, my bad. I don't think I've actually mentioned what all this bullying even is. Well, in his words, blatant disrespect, snickering behind my back, fake love notes, beating my back, stealing my stuff, egging my house, blackmailing me, calling my mom at work and telling her I'm dead, and hanging me from the bleachers with a rope weak enough to snap before I choke to death. Holy fuck! And that's only what he tells us. I saw quite a bit more playing the game, with some events even directly correlating with the symptoms of autism, like per se, the verbal bullying. There are two forms of this, blatant and obviously implied. The best example of blatant is during his conversation with Trody, where the bully points out that he can't make eye contact, alongside making some jokes about how insane Jeffrey is over anime and manga. Which, valid. His obsession is pretty wild, but it also ties into a bunch of different behavioral patterns associated with autism, though we'll talk more about those later. While being berated, Jeffrey's argumentativeness is put on full display as he continually snaps back at Trody, trying to make him take back calling anime cartoons. He doesn't seem to understand that not everybody has a hyperfixation on what he does, and that some people simply don't care. Besides that, and when he gets humiliated for his fetishes, we see a lot more implied bullying than blatant, but that's probably because our protagonist is Nicole, the resident goddess of sarcasm and wit. Despite the fact, Jeffrey wouldn't know it since he can't for the life of him understand sarcasm, or really anything that isn't just flat out saying what you're trying to get across. Nonverbal cues, non-literal dialogue, etc. So even when this type of shit happens,
Oh, you get crushes on cartoons? That's pretty cool.
he usually takes it as a compliment. Coming back to Jeffrey's obsessions, other than in rare occasions like in science where he ended up carrying his group to get Nicole an A, or when he's trying to open up to her, the only thing on Jeffrey's mind is weeb shit. I already told you should have expected this. Alright, so there's a few main topics he cycles between. Gossiping about the new episode of his favorite show, defending the honor of anime, and going into depth about his deepest, darkest fetishes, as well as how he jacks off to paused frames. Not even hentai, just random frames. Is he crazy? Well, kinda, but we'll get to that. Anyways, how is he even comfortable enough to talk about that? I thought everyone hated him. So, who the hell was he talking about it with? Nicole. Odd. She hates him. Alright, we finally made it. Where we talk about how Nicole ruined Jeffrey. 3 main events, or endings, occur throughout the game that end with Jeffrey being completely ruined. I want to start off with the easiest one. Start off slow, you know? But let's try and set the scene before we get into that. Nicole's ended up bringing about Kylar's suicide, and it's somehow gotten her even more popular than she already is. All the girls idolize her, since she's so hot that someone killed themselves over her. And all the boys, well, they're a bit more logical about it. They fear her. She made someone kill themselves after all. Jeffrey's no different. He wants nothing to do with Nicole anymore. But after realizing the power she holds over them, she abused it.
You're a smart boy, right? Let's make a deal. You do all my homework and slip me every test answer, and I won't force you to kill yourself.
Jeffrey was reduced to Nicole's ghostwriter. Reminds me of someone. Judging based off the fact that Nicole was the one to get valedictorian, I'm guessing that Jeffrey's grades tanked after he started doing all that work for her, so his smarts were put to waste all until graduation. Pretty good way of ruining someone, huh? The white pride party has taken over the school. Every single student has been converted, except one. Nicole. She's remained to witness all of it, and like usual, she just sees it as a joke. Finding Jeffrey, he tells her that the only reason he joined was because they accepted him. He didn't agree with their message or anything, so that gave her an idea. If he's that easily manipulated, then why shouldn't she just make him her pawn? And so, she resolved to test that theory.
You know, Jeffrey, this might be sudden, but you want to take me out later?
Sorry, Jecka, but I kinda just did this because no one else would talk to me. But now that Nicole's asking me out, well, having a girlfriend's way more important than the final solution.
Dude, what?
You little fucking race traitor. Mr. White trained me for this moment. Aryan students,
Imperial Scribe Jecka!
How may we serve you?
Jeffrey here is no longer our brother and he must be eliminated. Take care of him.
Finally, I thought you'd never ask.
Yeah, I hated being seen with him on rallies.
Oh, Nicole, we just gotta take care of a little business here, but you wanna hang out after school?
Are you actually just gonna have him killed right here?
Well, duh, but it's just politics, you know.
Help me!
They actually killed him for that. The last story begins in September 2007, the second day of school. So far, Nicole's been pretty relaxed. She's made a friend at a Jecka, she hasn't ruined anybody's life. The only thing that was a little on the edge was her befriending Jeffrey. Well, that's not the bad part. It's because of her reason for doing so. See, Jeffrey's a smart kid. Not emotionally, not socially, but academically. And she knows that. So, as the opportunity arose, she took advantage of him and ended up getting an easy A in her science class. But it was a group thing anyway, and I doubt she was going to do any work in the first place. Plus, he's happy about it all, so what's the issue? There's nothing terrible going on. Well, that all changes with gym class. So, Coach Colby's giving his usual spiel. Pay attention in class. I like young girls. Make sure to give it your all. I like young girls. Teaching is a two-way relationship. I can't teach it if you're not letting yourselves get taught. I like young girls. It inspires all except for Jeffrey and Nicole, who still decide to sit out from class. The two students are already acquainted with each other, so Jeffrey decides he's going to try and talk to her. Nicole obliges, thinking she might be able to get something funny out of this. She was absolutely right. Now, when you've been presented with an opportunity such as this, there's only two things you can really do. One, run away screaming and never talk to him again. Or two, turn up to the meeting and hopefully not get scarred by whatever goofy porn this guy's into. Nicole being Nicole, she obviously goes with the option that lets her gain leverage over the guy. And it goes exactly how you'd expect.
So you like him how much taller than you exactly?
At least like 12 feet taller, preferably 50. I want to be picked up with only 2 of her fingers. No, I mean, literally walk all over me. Love to be stepped on by a cute pair of feet. Did I mention how I liked girls with cat ears and tails?
Huh? She didn't make fun of him at all? She just listened and then left? What the? I must have mixed up my scripts. Alright, don't worry, I've got this all under control. Let's just keep going. We'll figure out what really happened together.
Hey there, Jeffrey. Things better with your dad yet?
Oh, hello, Jecka. Unfortunately, no. He used my toothbrush to clean out his new assault rifle he bought from China.
Wow, messed up much? Anyway, could you buy me another Diet Coke?
Sorry, but I can't anymore. My mom's been wondering where all my lunch money's been going.
Aw, you're mean. You don't like me anymore.
Again, I'm sorry, I just don't know.
Maybe I should grow 40 feet. Then you'd really like me.
Hey! How'd you...
Maybe if you took your shoes off and stepped on his face!
I can't believe this! She told everyone?
It's okay, Jeffrey. Run away with me. I'll stuff you in my back pocket.
Ugh, just shut up!
He's feisty today. Meow.
Oh my god, I almost forgot about that.
You have any catnip for us?
Yeah, pet us. Make us purr.
I can't believe this!
Just like that. His life's ruined. I thought this time it'd be different, but I guess the script wasn't wrong. It was just a bit out of time. Like, there's just no coming back from that. And his social status is already so low, I don't know how he's gonna handle it.
I've had to start taking medication since you betrayed me. I also waited for everyone to leave just so you'd be the only one to hear this. Tonight, when my mom's out with her new boyfriend, I'm gonna take the entire bottle. I'm going to kill myself.
What?
You chose to start this. But I won't give you a choice in stopping it.
I want to act surprised, but honestly, it was only a matter of time. I can't even imagine how it'd feel to be subjected to that kind of humiliation. I don't want to imagine it. Hey, she's considering trying to make everything right. There's still a chance that this all goes well.
I'm sorry, did you think I have any form of emotional attachment to you?
Why else would you have talked to me in the first place? Why would you have lunch with someone you don't like?
It was funny. I knew you'd say some embarrassing shit.
So you used me. You were a new student trying to look cool, so you just used me.
No shit. In what world does a girl like me take interest in you? If you're that fucking stupid, maybe you should kill yourself.
Fine. I'll give you your satisfaction. But not before getting mine first. You're the only girl I ever loved, even if it wasn't real.
You knew me for 2 days. Bye.
Why? I'd just like to clarify that the following suggestion is nothing but pure speculation, as we can never truly know what the past of this school was like, but I think that a good portion of Jeffrey's behavior is nurture, not nature. While as we've discussed, Jeffrey most likely has autism, and autism is a hereditary disorder. You're born with it. I believe that the symptoms were a lot less damaging earlier in his life. Or in other words, autism has nothing to do with his most self-destructive traits, besides causing the very bullying that brought them on in the first place. Him being so quick to trust others. Him being so quick to throw himself into toxic relationships just to appease his desire for attention. His ego developing into a way of protecting himself. All of these traits serve only to worsen his situation, yet they only grow as the torment continues. He just wants someone to think he's worthwhile. Pop. Mass murderer. I'm sorry for the weird timing, but let's once again return to Jeffrey's obsessions, his struggles. Now that we understand the extent of his character, I think we can afford to go a little bit deeper. Jeffrey has an obsession with Nicole. Or, well, primarily Nicole, but women in general? Or no, that's still not right. Jeffrey has an obsession with anyone who gives him attention, which is primarily Nicole. Yes, if you were thinking it, this is exactly the reason why he can be so easily manipulated by someone he's only just met. However, that's not the only way this obsession takes form. Jeffrey is delusional. Example, him inciting a fight with Kylar, his bully, and the most athletic guy in the school just because he was bullying Nicole, a girl he barely knows. The fight, of course, ended with Jeffrey in a stretcher. Well, not really, but I digress. Now, let's get into the more serious examples of just how much power this obsession has over him. But first, there's a couple examples of this that we've already covered, which of course, we've got to get out of the way. Starting with how Jeffrey's so easily trusting of literally anyone who gives him attention, primarily Nicole, letting her in on things like his home life, struggles as a bullying victim, insecurities, and fetishes, which are all things that, especially in his position, I could never see myself talking about, unless it was someone I really, really trusted. Then, about how he doesn't put up any resistance against people taking advantage of him, such as Nicole using him to get better grades. Now, with that all done and dusted, let's actually get into it. Remember that story I told you earlier? You know, the one about Jeffrey's descent into the deepest, darkest depths of the worst humiliation I think I've seen in years. Well, there's a better path that we can take, and it reveals the extent of just how much power Nicole has over Jeffrey. A few simple words from her can go a long way in his mind, for better or for worse. Alright, so I want to bring us all the way back to right before Jeffrey's resolve was solidified. The pivotal moment where Nicole called his bluff. What happens if you don't do that? What if you, girl hormones make me feel guilty instead?
I mean, you don't have to.
Nicole goes right ahead and saves Jeffrey's life. Okay, holy shit moment aside, that's simple enough. But this has so many implications, it's crazy. First of all, the fact that Nicole not only tried to convince him against it, but succeeded, which I'll remind you, Nicole doesn't like Jeffrey at all. She thinks he's a creep. So for her to do something like that, well, it only has one logical explanation. Nicole, at the very least, has a small capacity, not zero. And this is only hammered in further when we consider how she went about convincing him. She talks to him, offering guiding words of encouragement. And Jeffrey the best. Okay, sorry, I almost forgot about Jeffrey. Think about this. Nicole caused the situation that's making Jeffrey consider suicide. For her to be the one to convince him not to go through with it and succeed, then for him to suddenly want to be friends with her again? His obsession. Nicole has so much power, holy shit, I literally can't. Okay, let's just move on. I think the situation kind of spells itself out. Alright, so Nicole's opinion of Jeffrey isn't exactly unwarranted. He's a creep. That's obvious in about every single conversation we have with him. But with the arrival of Nicole, those delusions I mentioned earlier are in full swing. So what do you think's gonna happen once they combine? Well, oddly enough, Jeffrey does, or at least tries to do, something similar to what Nicole does to him. Humiliate her. However, the way he does it is just the most creeper shit I think I've ever seen. He snaps some pics in the girls' locker room and then monologues about it?
Oh, Nicole, if your brain was as big as your ample breasts, then maybe you'd understand.
I'm sorry, do you think you're cool right now? You're a freak. Not even the sex fiend counselor wants to fuck you.
Your petty insults will make the development of this photograph all the more satisfying. Cam girls are all cheap digital nonsense. I've captured your succulent figure on medium format film. Every little shadow and highlight of your tantalizing midriff captured the way it was meant to be.
No, come on, just throw the film out.
I'm afraid I can't do that. Every boy with a crush on you should pay top dollar for these prints. Or maybe I could hang a giant poster of it out front, humiliating you the way you've humiliated me time after time.
Well, holy, you should have just kept your mouth shut. Damn! That's wild to even say at all, let alone to the person you're perving on. Okay, seriously speaking now, besides the creeper dialogue, Jeffrey's making some serious threats here. And in that playthrough, I don't even think Nicole does anything to him, and to someone he likes no less. Why the hell would he want to do that to her? Wait, but what if he doesn't always like her? What if, because Nicole didn't do anything to him, he wanted to punish her? To show her exactly what it's like to be him. For the sake of the analysis and your entertainment, I'm gonna have to dip my toes in what'll be more deeply covered later on in the video message. After you complete every ending in Class of 09, you unlock a video message. It's got no sender, so it can't be anything to do with that oh so mysterious messenger we're hunting, but it contains a deeper look into Jeffrey's actual outlook onto the world, and how he feels about someone like Nicole. And hopefully that'll be enough to put the final nail in the coffin for our decision about whether or not Jeffrey is that ever so elusive messenger. Okay, so the video takes place just after the graduation ceremony, and the continuity seems to lie with the Principal Lynn gets fired ending. While the starting conversation between Jecka and Nicole is worth a bit of analysis, we'll save that for the dedicated section about it. So skipping ahead to Jeffrey's entrance, he says this.
Oh, every time I try having a regular conversation, you just make it a joke about me. Like I said, socially spoiled.
A little bit. Can someone be spoiled by not having a daily fight or flight moment?
What? Like I should be you for a day?
You're way too ugly to be her for a day.
Well, she gets too much attention to know how much it hurts to be me for a day.
I guess we'll never know.
Jeffrey's jealous of Nicole. He thinks she takes her social privileges for granted. I'm sorry, I know I'm just repeating what he said, but it might just be as simple as that. That's how he feels about her. Jeez, this is so sudden, but I think we're finally ready to put our research to the test and truly figure out who this messenger really is. Alright, the computer's finally up and running. Everything should be here. Well, let's solve this son of a bitch then, eh? Goddamn pop-up, serves you right. Anyways, we'll start off the investigation with the most obvious place. The photo gallery. Come on! I mean, I expected it, but seriously, come on! I'll just... Hey, I could fix that. Here. Whoa, is that illegal? So, photos are a no-go, and I'm on a watch list too. Goddamn messages. I have to hear about you, and you aren't even dead. Alright, well, assuming they're speaking to Nicole, which, why wouldn't they be? It's sent to her. Anyways, they probably don't like her. Or maybe there might just be an obsession at play here. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I've seen a bunch of cases like it. Guy gets rejected, decides the girl's better off dead than not with them. But we'll see. Every video I post a comment. I actually post several. Never my face in the profile picture, never a username that suggests who I might be, never the same account. I post with the curiosity of seeing if you would ever reach out to me. Curious as to who I am, like the rest of the world seems to be for you. I hate you. I think you're an attention whore. And yet I wish I had the acceptance and social stimuli you take for granted. You are such a fucking whore. I could be your friend if you gave me a chance. Holy shit, I was right, wasn't I? This is no normal obsession. They're a stalker, for Christ's sake. I do have to give it to them, though. They're meticulous. But doesn't that go against the whole goal for it? I post with the curiosity of seeing if you'd ever reach out to me. Like, of course she wouldn't. You've cloaked yourself well enough that there's none, zero chance of her ever realizing. My guy, you're just some random commenter to her. Honestly, it kinda gives off a vibe of delusion. There has to be some level of it going on. How else would you explain this? Anyways, by the looks of it, this is no simple crush-born obsession. It's gotta be envy. Everything works for everyone but me. Every time. I'm harassed. They tell me to get over it. Someone desirable is harassed and they get the world as consolation. Well, I can at least understand where all this envy's coming from now. Double standards really are a bitch, huh? If I had to guess, this is about the whole court case thing that happened with Nicole. Apparently, she sued a teacher for sexual assault and won a bunch of money. I think it was about $500K. And I guess the messenger feels their situation is just as bad, if not even worse. Yet, instead of the world taking their side, giving them the means to take down all the evildoers in their wake, they've been told to get over it. The guy must not have any friends. Sucks to have to live like that. Double standards really are a bitch. And now that's brutally clear in their mind. They all run off after getting their diplomas. As the months go by, I slowly start to realize they didn't talk to me and laugh at everything I said because they liked me. They did it to pass the time while they felt trapped in walls of boredom. This was the real world as I now knew it. Not even admissions offices humored me without any extracurricular clubs on my transcript. No one would ever let me in one. Yep. I was right. Once again. How hated do you even have to be so that you're barred from literally every single club? Anyways, I've been working at a gas station to pass the time. Someone who laughed at me in school pulled up with a fancy car, trying to avoid eye contact as much as they could. Did they feel guilty, or maybe just past the point of looking for comic relief? I guess 45 seconds at the pump isn't enough time for novelties like me. Alright. Well, that was grim. I'm sorry, I suck at this kind of stuff. So, I'm sure you know this already, but humans are social creatures. A human isn't complete without the people around them. And, judging by all this guy's probably alone. They didn't talk to me and laugh at everything I said because I liked me. Rings pretty close to. They use me for jokes and laughs. It's bullying. Now, given that interactions are what completes us, if he's been outcasted, and the only interaction he gets is when he's laughed at, then there's just no world where this guy's complete. But what's an incomplete human like? Well, according to this website, CVC? Yeah. So social isolation increases a person's risk for heart disease, strokes, type 2 diabetes, depression, anxiety, suicidality, self-harm, dementia, and earlier death. Sorry, that was a lot. But it sounds like this guy's really got a lot to worry about. I know it's practically already been 2 entire decades since then, but I really hope this doesn't get any worse. Come on, me, don't get all solemn now. We've still got a couple more to get through. Okay, let's move on. The biggest non-factor in news I have ever heard in this school. At least someone talks to you. Even I've heard about this whole incident. Crispin, for whatever reason, sent some scandalous pictures to Nicole, and she ended up having to move away after her mom caught wind of it. To be honest, that's probably the best ending for her. She gets away from that damn school after all. Except, The messenger just doesn't seem to get it. It doesn't make sense to them. Why should you move away when you're getting attention? All attention is good, right? Right? It's only natural. I'm guessing some of you are laughing to yourselves right now, thinking that that's absolutely ridiculous. And it is. But being deprived of attention for so long, you'd probably start to see it from their angle as well. Any attention, especially such a strong romantic type of attention, is good. Alright, well, take all of this with a grain of salt, but I see this type of belief as incredibly dangerous. It's the opening to a big-ass rabbit hole full of toxic, abusive, and manipulative relationships where everyone you're talking to will do nothing but take advantage of you. And I've got no doubts that's what happened here too. I really do wonder sometimes if I was the only one who joined for the feeling of friendship, feeling like part of a clique. Sure, it's classified as a hate group, but it was the only group that pretended to love me. When you know you're hopeless, pretending is all you can hope for. Attention deprivation, social isolation, being a Sigma male. Whatever you want to call it, I still told you so. Even I didn't expect it to go that far, though. To be so desperate for just a shred of acceptance, affection, whatever the fuck you want to call it. That you'd even join a fucking hate group. I joined for the feeling of friendship. They killed people, and you didn't even agree with what they're trying to do. You killed people. You took them from their families just because you wanted to be accepted by some fuck-off group that pretends to like you. Sorry, I got a little heated. I just hate to see how easy it is to alienate someone, and how easy it is to manipulate them after that. Helping such a horrible group get closer to their horrible goals all because they pretended to give a fuck? They need help. Wait. What the? That's weird. I swear this was the last message. Oh shit. It's an interesting paradox. Women I'm not interested in tell me to be open with my emotions. They say it's wrong that boys don't express their sadness and vulnerability, but the women who might consider me absolutely hate it. They think I'm a freak when I communicate any notion besides generosity. The world of the living is a game of paddleball. Guess who's the ball? I am the ball, I am the ball, I am the ball. Jesus Christ, besides the fact that I didn't know there were going to be more messages, I don't know how I didn't see this coming. Constantly seeking out love, yet only ever attaining a fake substitute from the absolute worst people possible? Of course cracks would start to form. Well, at this point, there's probably a good deal more than just cracks. But, wait, there's something off about all this. Women I'm not interested in, and women who might consider me, I'm not interested in, might consider me. There's a language change. Why? Okay, let me have another look at this. The way they're talking about the ones who will consider them, it's weird. Yeah, look at this. They think I'm a freak when I communicate any notion besides generosity. That's manipulation. I mean, if they really gave a damn, would they be calling you a freak? And generosity, do I really need to talk on that? I think it's pretty obvious what they meant. I guess I misunderstood. They're not considering him as a suitor, not a friend, not even a person. He's a tool. Alright. Coming back to women I'm not interested in. I honestly think they're talking about their mom. I mean, it'd make sense. Guardians are supposed to be supportive and tell you what's right. They don't always, but it'd make sense that they are. Oh, and when they describe the people they're presumably interested in, they change the focus to be about if the women would consider him, rather than if they themselves are interested. It's like they'd accept anyone, yet any girl they talk to takes advantage of them. Well, if you're easy to manipulate, you're gonna end up getting manipulated. I feel bad for the guy, even if they're a stalker, even if they're a creep. I hope things get better and they do too along with it. I recall watching the news after VT happened last April. Between the rambles of gun control, an NRA member looked into the camera as if he was trying to talk to kids like me. I'm paraphrasing. If you are a student and feel alone, threatened, frightened, or inferior, lashing out at the world with fatal violence like this is not the answer. I don't want to kill them because no. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. Let's just keep on reading. I don't want to kill them because I'm lonely. They just need a wake-up call. Most classes I sit alone. No one speaks to me. Last week, a girl who gets plenty of attention for her looks was venting to the teacher about how she didn't fit in, mentioning she only knew her boyfriend and that's it. Isn't that great irony? I'm light years from getting anything close to a girlfriend. She sees no one talk to me, yet vents right in front of me about how little she has socially. I am not jealous, just sick of the ignorance she and many others exhibit. Their cozy little world. I want to destroy it. I want to destroy it and look them in the eye while I do it. I want them to remember me. Shit! You dumb fucking idiot. That isn't the answer. It never is. I'm sorry. I know I can't do anything. I know it's my job to find this guy out. But man, these people need help. Sorry, I got off track. I know they say they aren't jealous, but I just refuse to believe that. Not with everything that's come before. I think they've lost hope. And jealousy without hope, well, the message speaks for itself. Guessing based on the fact that I'm here right now. Looking through these, this guy never got the help he needed. Well, I'm scared to click onto the next one now. Look what you've done, getting in the way of my honest work. Here I go. When I leave, either for the day or forever, it's always strange seeing them. They look, and I look away. How dare they ask for eye contact when they wouldn't even show me common decency when we were forced in a room together? I go back in the car when I see someone from there, and I think about killing them. I want to find something to say, but at the same time, I hate the idea of talking about it in such a blasé manner, talking about what all this might mean, what it might tell us. I'll just suck it up. This was inevitable. No one would ever let me into a club. They think I'm a freak when I communicate any notion besides generosity. When you're hopeless, pretending is all you can hope for. And on top of all that, based on these notes, they've probably got some kind of developmental, maybe communicative, just a disorder impairing their social skills. Life abandoned this kid. Of course he'd be jealous. He has no one, yet's forced to watch his peers just prance around, never taking note of the privilege they've always taken for granted. And it just never got any better. I won't say a murderer is ever redeemable, but I don't think they've gone that far. Maybe, after we find them, things could get better? Yeah, let's hope for the best. But for now, we'll keep reading. I think about killing a lot of people. I think about strapping them to a chair and beating their face into a pulp with an aluminum bat. I know I'm just rambling at this point, but I'm sorry nobody was there for you to stop you from becoming like this. I mean, I don't know the full story. I don't know what type of guy you were before all this started, but I've got a pretty good idea about who you were during it. These little notes say a lot. Alright. It's such a terrible thing to just move on from like it's nothing. But cheer up, me. Get that pep back in your step. It's time we connected all the dots. So, on the board here, we've got the various points that make up the messenger's character. Okay, I'm not gonna act like you're stupid. It's pretty obvious looking at it like this. Jeffrey. But that's not the point. Let's look back on the last hour of our time. What have we been talking about? You're right if you said the characters. Class of '09 isn't a game where the lore is cleverly hidden in hard-to-reach spots, locked behind secret minigames, or a true ending. The lore is all around you. Just take a look at the characters this game's about. I honestly couldn't care less about these guys, but they're in the game, so I'll cover them. Megan is evil! She watched Kylar commit suicide and literally seconds later started to joke about it. Though she can bake, I guess. Oh, speaking of Kylar, we've got Kyle to deal with now. He's only one letter away from the real one, but based off the one thing I wrote about him, he could honestly just be a carbon copy for all I care. Though not everyone's as straightforward as that. Ari's a little more on the ambiguous side. I mean, she's got her ass facing the screen for the entire game. And what's that got to do with it? Well, I want to know why she does it! I can't tell whether she's just shy or showing off, damn it! She seems more like the first, but who knows? Since we don't talk to her much, I don't know if she cares about school, but I'm leaning towards no since that's the case for pretty much all of her peers. But oddly enough, not Karen. Besides Jeffrey and maybe Nicole, because she said that she's at least passing, she's the only character shown to, like, actually know anything. And on top of that, even care about her learning, which is all shown when she corrected Kylar after she got pissed off about how unruly the class was. She's also a music junkie, so maybe she plays an instrument. Oh, and she even swims at pool parties, unlike Kelly, who's known as a bitch. And, she's really rich too, and also she helped kill Jeffrey. Moving on, Braxton did too! Oh wait, Karen's friends with Trody. He's friends with Kylar. He's a bully too, but of course he is. Literally put all the students at Lake Braddock in a hat, and the only ones who aren't bullies are the ones getting bullied. And Crispin. Speaking of him, it's finally time we talk about characters we actually care about. He may be outgoing in a creepy way. Every single word that comes out of his mouth could be misunderstood as harassment, and he does send a couple devious things. But Crispin seems like a good kid at heart. I mean, right off the bat, he offers us a tour of the school. Sure, his approach does make him look like a little bit of a creep, but I'm sure he meant no harm. Maybe we could... No, we have zero semblance of sympathy. Just kidding, we want to learn more about him, so of course we'll accept. Though there's no guaranteeing his sanity. Or ours. And so, through great suffrage, we end up achieving just that, thanks to his many desperate attempts at conversation. Well, it wouldn't be much of an analysis if I didn't talk about the stuff I'm analyzing. Starting off with the sickest aspect about him, he's a gamer! And he listens to deep as hell music! And he doesn't know how to take a hint. Seriously, the number of times he gets shut down by Nicole has to be in the billions at this point. But no matter how many times she tells him he's a creep, he persists, just as we know women would prefer men to do. I can't believe I need to clarify this, but just kidding again. I swear though, one time he literally sent her a dick pic as thanks, after only a minute-long conversation with her, which... calling it a conversation is pretty lenient. All he did was disregard everything she was saying, and all she did was make fun of him. But even despite all that, I don't think he's naturally prone to harassment. I believe that he's a product of his environment. I mean, think about it. Well, we haven't got to them yet, but the entire staff's made up of pedophiles. They're so open about it that some of the teachers even blatantly grope students in the middle of class. At least the coach seems to do it in a locker room.
Yeah, I was in his class, and he always wanted to try and guess what kind of underwear we had on.
How I wrote that, then proofread it, then recorded it without realizing what I'd wrote was mad. It had to have been so late. Oh my god. Anyways, back to the video. But with his record of nearly a dozen victims, there's just no way it's still a secret. Oh, and the counselor. Dude, his entire character is literally just trying to normalize pedophilia as a preference and not a mental disorder. Alright, tangent aside, but don't worry, we'll get back to those guys soon enough. You see what I mean now, right? Everyone around this kid's a predator. All he knows is men harassing women. And guess what? If he never sees anything else, he's gonna think that's normal. Okay, after all that, I'm sure you're starting to feel for him at least a little bit now. This kid's a victim, for God's sake. Plus, objectively, the worst thing he's ever done without being manipulated. I say that because in one ending, he was manipulated into joining the White Pride Party, and then, presumably out of a mix of fear, misguided intentions, and mob mentality, killed Jeffrey along with 3 others. But before you go back to hating him, remember why they're killing Jeffrey. Because he left. I say fear, because I am very certain if he said no. Well, you get the point. Back to what I was saying. The worst thing he's ever done without intervention is sending Nicole his 1-inch warrior. While it was unsolicited, and it definitely didn't do any good, his intentions weren't wrong. The message attached to the photo is as follows. Hey, thanks for listening to the women's restroom. I love seeing you and hearing your voice. Your attitude just works for me. IDK, I just wanted to show you what you do to me. Oh, my bad. This just in, it's 3 inches. But anyways, he seems pretty ignorant of what he's doing, right? Even acting as if it's just a normal show of thanks or affection. Consider what we talked about before. All the adults he's supposed to trust do things like that. He knows no better. I think Crispin's definitely redeemable. He just needs to get out of that damn school and into somewhere where he can actually grow and recover from his time at Lake Braddock. Now, let's talk Emily. I don't know why I put her here. She's Nicole's friend? That's about it. Now, let me introduce to you our lovely audience here today. Drum roll, please. The worst school staff on planet Earth! They may be human garbage, but that doesn't mean they're not characters. So, to start off the night, let us all please welcome to the stage, drumroll please, Coach, drumroll please, Cole, drumroll please, B! I'm sorry. As I don't want this video to be any longer than it's already gonna be, I won't be properly diagnosing him, but I do believe Coach Colby is a narcissist. See if you can pick out why as we go through building his character. He's the epitome of the type of person I'd struggle to even call a human being. In fact, I believe the only person in the game that challenges his piece of shit score is the genocidal maniac Mr. White. But Flocker, there's no way he could be that bad, to be arguably equal to a genocidal white supremacist, and be even worse than guys like Kylar? You've gotta be trippin'! Don't worry, I hear all your pleas. It's okay if you won't believe my word. I'll just show you how terrible he is. And let me remind you, this is only the stuff that we know about. Not even close to the entirety of what he's probably done during his decades of teaching. 8 counts of sexual assault on minors. 1 count of dating a minor. 1 count of giving alcohol to a minor you were not the guardian of. Honestly, I don't even know how many counts of teacher negligence, but 2 big ones. 1 count of defamation, 1 count of first-degree murder, and 1 count of which was again committed against a minor. Now, you get it, but we can't just stop there. I've got to do my proper due diligence and fully construct a character for the terrorizer that is Coach Colby. And in order to do that, we'll have to take an even closer look into the events that led to him gaining that oh-so-large track record of his, starting off with his relationship with Nicole. This teacher-student bonding story starts off in a, well, not-so-conventional place. Right, obvious, the girls' locker room. Nicole's minding her own business, changing, you know, like you do in a locker room, and the coach barges in. Okay, I'm guessing all the answers are going to be pretty obvious, but let's play a fun little game of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. It'll get us to our next destination, and it'll do it in style. Here's your question. What do you think the coach is doing in the girls' locker room? 1. Warning Nicole of a danger on the premises. 2. Checking on Nicole to make sure she's okay, since she's been in the locker room for quite a while. Or maybe 3. Sleepwalking. Or finally, 4. Cocky one boing boing. That's right! If you chose cocky one boing boing, then you're correct. After entering the girls' locker room, he immediately tries to get Nicole to go on a date with him, making great use of his boundless budget, $300, to win her over. And by god damn it, he succeeds! Now on to the next question. What happens now that Nicole's agreed to the date? 1. It was all a joke. Yippee! Coach isn't a bad guy. 2. They meet up and have a fun time studying. Or maybe 3. Nicole realizes the danger she's putting herself in and tells on the coach. Or it might just be that 4. They go to a bar where the coach tries to get Nicole, a minor, drunk, presumably so he can take advantage of her. Great job! If you chose the 4th option, you're absolutely correct. After doing just that, he then proceeds to ask quite the dangerous question. Want to come back to my place? If I'm going to be your sugar daddy, you've got to earn your keep. And Nicole, of course, accepts, deciding her innocence is certainly worth less than a couple $100. Okay, for your final question, remember, this is for $1 million. What does Coach Colby have in mind for his and Nicole's time staying back over at his house? 1. Studying. 2. Necrophilia.
I came to this new school with the full intention of fucking around. Life was hopeless, so sleeping with my gym teacher was just a drop in the bucket. You could say the major mistake was going home with a stranger, but honestly, most strangers are fine as long as they're not into necrophilia. The second I stepped in, he locked the door behind us, grabbing my neck and squeezing really fucking tight. The last thing I remember was the rush in his eyes while the life slipped from mine. I didn't know her that well, but tell Jecka she's cool for me. As for my family, they can fuck off and burn in hell with me. See you soon, Dad.
Yeah, that'll teach us for being so reckless. No more coach. But it really makes you think, what would have happened if she rejected him? Would he have backed off, or would he have lost it? Well, this next story reveals the answer to exactly that, while also going even further, putting not just his petty malice on full display, but the fucked up way the game makes certain you're playing it the way it wants you to, as a rejection simulator. Back to the first day of school. I know I haven't specifically mentioned it here, but during the storyline I've already told all of you guys, of course the one about Coach, Nicole doesn't really interact with any other men at school. I believe that's the reason for his, Coach's, massive personality shift. No, he's always been like this. What changed wasn't Colby, it was Nicole. Damn it, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself again. Sorry, back to the first day of school. Right. This playthrough starts off the same as any. Nicole's condescending thoughts plague throughout every interaction she has. But the one thing that's changed is that Nicole no longer follows through on them. In her words, she's weak. But in mine, she's a decent human being. Decent human beings don't mesh well with people like those at Lake Braddock. To cut to the chase, all the guys who clearly can't read any sort of signs end up taking advantage of her inability to say no. And after a couple months of this, it gets to the point where Nicole labels them as hostage friendships. A friendship you don't want to be in, but if you end it, then they'll probably stalk you. It all continues. At this point, Nicole's going out as friends with every single loser guy, including Jeffrey and Kylar, until a fateful outing with Crispin. He wants to take her out to a concert. Not any sort of good one, just a shitty, I think it's maybe an open mic, but they're all bad. Anyways, Nicole agrees. I apologize in advance for my getting a little off topic, but I'm sure as you already know, the coach is an avid sexual predator. Aside from Nicole, he's assaulted 7 other girls from his classes, and this results in his getting fired no matter the playthrough, even if he's not a part of the story. Sorry again, I only thought to mention all this since in this timeline, he's not a teacher. He's a concert stagehand.
Hey, you!
Mr. Colby, what are you doing here?
I work here.
Oh, I guess you had to find a new job after the school board fired you.
What are you talking about? Fired? I left, moved on to bigger and better things.
No, I'm pretty positive you got fired after groping me and 7 other girls.
Yeah, I'm a player, don't remind me. What say you and me get out of here? I want to show you my new ride.
You know, I'd love to chill in the back seat with a registered sex offender, but I might miss the next shitty band, so...
Come on, Nicole. None of these high school boys are at this level.
I actually prefer 25 seconds of intercourse.
Just shut up and get in my car.
No!
Fine. You think I don't have any pull now that I'm not your gym teacher, but think again. My players love me, and they all keep in touch.
Are you threatening me?
I didn't do anything. Yet.
Fuck this, I'm out of here.
That's right. As a middle-aged man trying to date a 16-year-old girl, he resorts to spreading rumors after getting rejected, but they weren't empty threats. Remember those hostage friendships? They matter now.
You fucking whore!
No, a lesbian. Didn't I go to an arcade with you? Why are you mad?
It's a barcade. You know why. Everyone in lacrosse is talking about it.
I don't get it. Is this for YouTube or something?
You fucked the whole football team!
No, I didn't. Wait, even if I did, why do you care? We weren't even together. Fuck off.
All those times I took you out and you had the nerve to have sex with everyone but me!
Yeah, me too.
If I knew you were easy, I would have tried more when I took you out.
I'm done with you. From now on, I'm gonna make your life a living hell!
My cousin's gonna hack your MySpace when I tell him you used me.
What the fuck is this? You all insisted that I hung out with you, not the other way around.
Then why'd you keep doing it if you didn't want to date, huh?
You kept offering. I was trying to be nice.
Yeah, I kept offering to lube up the prude, but looks like you were a manipulative slut the whole fucking time!
A grown man actually started a rumor about me.
Somebody steal her backpack!
Yeah, we gotta get our money back somehow.
I didn't fuck anyone!
They all think that because she's apparently easy, they're entitled to fucking her? What the fuck? Even if the rumors were true, what the fuck? And it's not just the students either, all the teachers and staff are pieces of shit too! Even her mom is a piece of shit! Is everyone in this girl's life a piece of shit? Do they even see her as human?
People are books, puzzles, and pawns. In that order. First they're read, then they're figured out, then they're persuaded. Some would call that wrongly manipulative. But what's the alternative? Basically any advice my mom's ever given me? Don't be mean, don't judge, be open. And yeah, sure, but that only works when men don't want to have sex with you. Be tolerant of guys who get off by choking you. No way that goes south. What's wrong with a pizza delivery boy with no career goals? When's the last time you asked your pizza man if he's a rapist? They're called warning signs, but ignoring them makes you a nice person. And one day, if you're a nice enough girl, you'll end up just like me. And just like my dad. If you're reading this, I'm dead.
It really goes to show, doesn't it? Nicole can't win. And the only time she ever comes close is when she's a bad person. I wonder if you guys would still believe she's evil if you heard all I had to say. Hey, don't fault a man for liking trains, fault a man for liking underage girls. Mr. Burleday seems like a normal science teacher on the surface, but according to Nicole, yes, that's all we have, a claim from a girl known to lie, that's non-verifiable. But I digress. This section's 6 lines long. Who gives a... Sorry, didn't see you over there, Gerald. My fault. Anyways, she said that he's a squeezing demon, touching girls in the middle of class. I don't know, man, but given the school's track record that there's no reason for Nicole to lie, and the fact that it makes this more interesting, I'm gonna label him as Freaky Thomas, you know? Because he likes trains, and Thomas the Tank Engine? No? Okay, screw you, moving on. The counselor, also known as the marathon pedophile, coined by Nicole, is a character whose concept is just so stupid and screwed up that I can't even imagine how it'd work in real life. Oh wait, sorry, it seems I've accidentally told a little fib. I do know how it'd work, and it even already exists. Just take a little look-see at, well, half of anime. Now, I do realize I haven't exactly told you what this character's like, but based on what I've said, have a little guess. I'll give you 3 whole seconds. Hey, even comment down below what you think the answer is to see if you got it right. You'll boost my engagement so you can get more viewers. Okay, here I go! He tries to normalize pedophilia. Jazz hands! Sorry, seriously speaking again, this guy's a terrible person. As a counselor of Lake Raddock, he should serve as someone the students trust. Someone that they can go to and both comfortably and safely talk about their problems. The rest of the school staff. And students. But sadly, he's less of a counselor and more of a predator playboy. To illustrate this, let's take a closer look back at how he handles Nicole coming to his office, asking for help with the false rumors the coach spread about her getting down with the football team.
Oh, you're actually here. Good, I need some help.
Nicole, what a pleasant surprise.
Well, see, all these guys I hung out with before, who took the hanging out as dating, yeah, so they all suddenly want to kill me because I won't have sex with them. I'd rather not get into it. Long story. Really weird and embarrassing. And
Now hold on. So why are they upset with you again?
Because I didn't have sex with them.
So sexual frustration. Natural for all boys of their age. But what provokes that?
Hormones?
Teasing. Are we being a tease, Nicole?
And you're actually employed here?
Don't deflect. You're usually so... sharing.
How am I sharing?
For instance, how you shared your body with the varsity football team. In fact, I think I'll take you out on a personal field trip. I'd love to explore this curious side of you.
He degrades her and then tries to fuck her? Dude, do I even need to say anything here? Is it even necessary? I think my point's been made pretty clear, Jesus Christ. What else is there about him? Well, I guess he's pretty successful in his field. He's got, like, several degrees in pediatric psychology. Sorry, he didn't say the exact number, but that's pretty good. Oh, he can't be that good if he's ended up at a school like Lake Braddock. Sorry, I'm rambling. Let's just move on. I'm beating a dead horse at this point. Genocidal, white nationalist, maniacal master manipulator, photography teacher. Well, that's underwhelming. I would have thought he'd at least be a drama teacher. But it lets him hide in plain sight until he unfolds his master plan to take nude photos of the principal covered in baby oil. Oh, shit. Sorry, wrong script. That's my bad. Just give me a second. Until he unfolds his master plan to convert the entire school into his white nationalist regime. And by God, he makes it look easy. Let's get into it. As I mentioned before, Mr. White is a white nationalist. He believes white people are superior and makes it political. But how the fuck do you convert an entire school? Well, it all starts with him inviting Nicole into a dark, secluded room with no cameras. Nah, don't worry, he's not a pedophile. He's even against them. Crazy. It's just the photo lab. He only wanted to ask her to do a photo shoot with him, which still pretty weird, but not on the level of the other guys. And he's offering a pretty good deal to go with it. Free food from anywhere? Nicole is on that immediately. And so, let the photo shoot commence. Wait, what's that symbol on her shirt? Celtic cross, huh? Wait, Celtic cross, where have I heard that from? It looks different from the ones I'm seeing here. Oh, it's like that, huh? A neo-Nazi symbol, what the fuck? Well, Nicole figured out what was going on, mainly because he just kept on complimenting how white she was. And she ended up telling Jecka, who is apparently super anti-racist, and she wanted to go confront him. But Nicole doesn't really care. She's like, I can't be fucked. So she just let her go on her own. Big mistake. Okay, so Jecka's been converted. I guess Mr. White shouldn't be underestimated, but surely things are gonna be all good from here. I'm pretty sure Jecka will trust me more than Mr. White. Okay, so I underestimated the bastard again, and somehow he's converted the entire school. How did he even do that in a single day? Oh, fuck it, what's the worst that could happen?
Well, long story short, I went to the shoot, and Mr. White got the bright idea of having us build a chlorine bomb that could level a food court. We didn't really know what we were doing while giving him a hand with the supplies. We just thought he had a really big pool. He detonated it at a Puerto Rican rights bingo night, killing himself in the process, leaving us as the only living traces of DNA found at the scene. It's ironic because, I wasn't racist in the first place. Then I dabbled in racism just to be friendly. Then I tried really hard to convince the jury I still wasn't racist, and now I need to be racist and join some Aryan sisterhood for prison protection. Is it like this for every model?
People will look at this and see it as an incredibly exaggerated, impossible scenario. But in reality, we're living through something pretty similar, scaled up to the millions. The hold manipulators have on their victims shouldn't be underestimated, ever. Katz is a weird case. Like Mr. Burleday, we never actually see him doing anything particularly wrong. But also like Mr. Burleday, that doesn't just mean he's entirely out of the woodworks just yet. Nah, I lied, it kinda does. 'Cause unlike our, well, specimen, there are zero specific allegations against Mr. Katz, only the vague mention that all teachers are pedophiles. But since we're talking about Nicole, there's nothing we can really do. He just seems like a normal history teacher. Sorry to be a letdown, I know you crazy bastards love your actual crazy bastards, but maybe, just maybe, there's some competent staff at Lake Braddock. God damn it, I was wrong. Unsurprisingly, the principal of Lake Braddock is, in a lot of ways, just as bad as the terrible teachers it habituates. Who would have thought? But have you ever heard those talks about how bystanders are just as bad as the ones actually participating in the wrongdoing? I don't fully agree with them, but in this case, it's hard not to see their point. Let's just go through all the things that she actively sees happen in her everyday life, that she absolutely should be dealing with as the principal of the school, but just doesn't, or even on occasion, partakes in it. Starting off with the one point that doesn't revolve around the school, enabling her friend who's running an illegal cosmetic surgeries business. We never see her actually egging her on, but the nature of how nonchalantly they were talking about it, I don't doubt she is. And even so, she's actively facilitating her friend's life of crime, literally helping her do her business, which is more than enough to counter in on the enabling side of things. Now, moving on to an example that has a lot more evidence backing it, the students at Lake Braddock are all messed up and nothing's done about it. There's a good bit of this that you can just blame on the teachers not doing their job, but it's the principal's job to maintain order and a good culture at school. They should be dealing with and putting in safety measures against students doing stuff like hard drugs on the property, or the disgusting shit they do to Jeffrey. And to go even further, she straight up contributed to the bullying at one point. And while it could have been unintentional, I highly doubt it. All of this leads me to believe that she just doesn't care about her students, and this is even further reinforced when she accidentally lets on to the fact that she cares more about her job than actual human life. Children, the future of our planet.
I can't have 2 pedophile arrests and a student attempting suicide in 1 week. Really need to keep this job.
A student is about to commit suicide, and she only cares about the repercussions for her job. Messed up. But now, it's time for the point you all knew was coming. About how the majority of her staff are pedophiles and or terrorists. First off, Coach Colby's inability to get fired and actually stay gone is a great example of her apathy to the situation. No matter how many times he gets inside a kid, he never faces any form of punishment. And guess what? When he finally does, he even states himself, just got out of jail, getting rehired, they're giving me my job back. We can keep doing what we're doing. You know what I mean? You know. Oh, and still on the topic of the staff, do you think she'd notice if all her students had joined a white nationalist party led by a teacher who was pretty open about it? I mean, this is all purely speculation, but considering her negligence in the other areas, I don't think it's that far-fetched to believe that she allowed the party to go on unchecked, and that came with real-life consequences. In every ending surrounding the party, some form of human life was lost. And all of that just because you don't want to look stuck up? Yeah, that was the actual reason she gave for why she doesn't do anything about the pedophiles. That along with the fact that she let the entirety of her staff hit. Oh wait, sorry, you guys wouldn't know about that yet. My fault. Okay, so in a conversation with Nicole, Lynn mentions that she's got far too much sympathy to do what she wants. Which, absolutely not, but I'll go on. And that the main 2 reasons she doesn't want to do anything about the shitty teachers is because she slept with every single one of them. And now that she's done it, she doesn't want to look stuck up for firing them, or even just calling out their misconduct. Damn. Well, look on the bright side of things. At least, now we know how Lake Braddock got to be like this. That's something. Sometimes, to further develop the main cast, and to give us some explanation for why they are the way they are, the game leaves us some hints about what their home lives are like. More specifically, what their parents are like. Jeffrey's mom seems to be a normal working woman in a broken family situation. As far as I can tell, she cares about Jeffrey and tries to make sure he's okay. However, because of his terrible stepfather, her husband, she can't. A good bit of that's inferred, just based on how Jeffrey speaks about his family, but I do know for certain his family's broken. He says it after all, and that led me to discover at least some extent of how terrible his stepfather truly is. He's a war veteran from Iraq. Of course, that's admirable, serving your country, putting your life on the line, but it's common for people to come back. Well, hardly people. Jeffrey speaks of him as a gun nut. Once again, that's not bad on its own, but among being the type of person his wife's afraid of, who she's trying to escape from with a divorce, he used Jeffrey's freaking toothbrush to clean his gun. That's essentially all I know about them, and I still think that's enough to make a pretty good judgment about Jeffrey's home life. It must suck. Jecka's mother is a heroin addict. Her addiction has not only ruined her own life, but has dragged her daughter along with her. She's incredibly abusive, and not just in the spank your bottom kind. Her most notable form of abuse is the threatening of so-called disciplinary tattoos, where if Jecka doesn't shape up, she'll have to get a really bad tattoo across her knuckles like, I love school, for example. And that is so fucking cruel that, oh my, tattoos are permanent, unless you get them lasered off. So at the very minimum, it's going to be following her around for a couple years. But who's to say that it doesn't for the rest of her life? By the way, she's even passing this on to her friends as some miracle strategy. And we know that because Nicole's mother started threatening it too, directly citing her. And if you're curious, in her case, the tattoo would say, Jesus saves. Nicole's presumed an atheist. Now, I know, I should have started with these, but I do know a couple more mundane aspects of her character. Like when Jecka gets pressed about how she can afford so much preppy clothing, she spills that her mom works at a department store and gets a lot of free expensive stuff. So she just has it. Now onto Nicole's family. Unlike these guys, we actually get to meet them. Okay, Nicole's brother. How do I explain this? Alright, close your eyes and think of a Discord moderator. Make him slightly less fat. Still pretty big, but I see what you've got going on up there. That's crazy, bro. He is not queso. Okay, back on track. Make him more shameless. No, get rid of those thigh highs. I mean, open about how he's a pedophile. And speaking of that, even more into kids. Is this what you've got in your head? No? Screw you, I'm good at describing things. Okay, enough jokes. But honestly, Nicole's brother is exactly as I described him back there. He's 27, living in his mom's basement, dating kids on Discord, and we know he is because he talks about it like it's normal. He straight up asked Nicole to help him take pictures for some 15-year-old in Canada, while calling them 15-year-old Canadian ass. Completely shameless. And he's the main reason Nicole became the person she is today. That's because right as she was finally getting to live a happy life, making friends and healing from her past trauma, he caused a situation that forced his family to move. Which, by the way, was pirating breakbeat mixtapes. What the fuck? Oh, and he's big. Real big. Jump up and down and need your friend to shield the world, but you still end up killing a really powerful woman, then just go on like nothing even happened while eating KFC every single day, big. Inside joke, sorry, yo, and I almost forgot. If it wasn't already obvious, he's a true-blooded, God-fearing gamer! Probably spends every minute of his life either grinding Pet Simulator or playing Hoplite. Anyways, Nicole implies he's already into other types of messed up media. Yeah, as if being a pedophile wasn't bad enough. Those being Guro and other messed up non-consensual forms of intercourse. I'm not getting into either of those, but yeah, not much else to say.
Nicole?
I'm trying to make a depression playlist on iTunes. What is it?
Well, nothing really. I'm just wondering why you've been so exhausted lately.
People, Mom.
You're being nice, right? Trying to get along?
Alright, forget about that. It's meaningless. Based on the type of kids this woman's rearing, and the little hints in the section about Jecka's mom, guess what type of parent she is? Having trouble? Let me help you. Literally in the bloody intro cutscene, she's already abusing Nicole. Now, ironically, throughout the entirety of the rest of the game, she doesn't lay hands on her even once. But what she does do, honestly, could be even worse. Not only is her fickle by nature personality one of the primary reasons behind Nicole's descent into her current character, but she's a shallow, inconsiderate monster of a person who I can't even imagine caring about her daughter. Yet, that's just the thing. She does. Let me first get out of the way that Nicole's mother is addicted to a drug called Vicodin, which contains an opioid pain reliever called hydrocodone. Use text-to-speech. As well as acetaminophen. This drug, of course, is used to help relieve pain, but it's very commonly abused due to its addictive properties, and that's exactly the case with Nicole's mother. She's addicted. But that's not the only thing that's contributing to the horrible parenting she shows off around Nicole. She's fickle, and she's shallow. Over the time Nicole's been old enough to remember, her mom's gotten divorced a total of 9 times. This has forced the family to move house over and over and over again, leading to Nicole never having enough time to settle in anywhere, never having enough time to make genuine connections. While I can only make assumptions about their past, such as that Nicole's mother is incredibly promiscuous, or could possibly even be a gold digger, I don't really know the details, so I want to stick to events that actually happened during the runtime of the game, starting off with Nicole's adventure into court. This story starts off in photography class. Nicole's not paying attention, like usual, but this time, Mr. White's not having any of it. But after he instructs her to get back on task, instead of just listening, she listens? And while that may be true, and while you may believe that's completely out of character for her, that's just simply not where this story ends. And that's because of one person and one person alone. Jecka.
You can't talk like that to her.
I can talk any way I like, Jessica.
That's not my name. See? You don't respect any of the girls. A guy could just whip his dick out in here and you just politely say, that's enough.
You're on thin ice right now.
You're on your 4th wife right now because you couldn't make it as a photographer.
I heard it was only 3.
That's it. Both of you have detention this afternoon.
Great.
That single order from Mr. White might just end up being his biggest regret. Or maybe it won't, but one thing sure enough. Nicole's about to fall down one big, slippery slope of deceit.
I feel like I see you two every week now.
And Mr. White said?
Said you were talking out of turn with extreme vulgarity.
Well, yeah, you would too if he was groping you all over mid-lecture.
Excuse me?
Yeah, what?
Mr. White is a pervert and he's been pulling this shit for like years now.
She tells the principal that Mr. White sexually assaulted her. Ironic. The only teacher we know conclusively isn't a pedophile is the one that gets accused of it. Anyways, this of course is a serious accusation, and it needs to be taken that way. So when Nicole's mother is told of it, she's angry, as any mother would be, right? So, after revealing that she'd been lying to Nicole about being broke, just so she didn't have to buy her anything, she made the resolution that she wanted to take the case to court. Just real quick, there's an argument here that can be made supporting the gold digger accusations, that she only wanted to take it to court for the payday, but honestly, I just don't think that's the case. For one, in the ending they do win the money. From the looks of it, Nicole gets a lot of, if not all of the $500,000 they settled for. Unless it was a secret scheme of her mom's to get rid of her, I just can't see how that plot's at all realistic. Now back to the story. Nicole's lying now drags into the court of law, and the attorney picks up on it. But just in the nick of time, she ends up outing the entire school's staff for their nefarious activities. But right as she had them all in the palm of her hand, she fumbled. Damn fucking morals. Guess how her mom reacts to that.
Needless to say, Mom was pissed. I was like, but I thought we should tell the truth, and she was all, not in court, bitch. So we got buried in legal fees, lost our home, lost everything. Mom found another husband and said I could rot under a bridge for all she cared. I opted for the cardboard box. At least I can decorate it. Lesson learned, though. I learned honesty makes your life way harder than it needs to be.
Okay, putting aside the irony of dishonesty being the very thing that got her there in the first place, she got abandoned. Holy fuck. I get that she did something really bad, But wait, there's more. In the ending scroll text, it says that her mom left with a new guy, conveniently after she just spent a whole lot of money in court. These little could-be coincidences are kinda stacking up at this point. But I don't want to count her out yet. I think she's a bit of a gold digger, but she also loves her daughter. I'll prove it. First of all, I've already mentioned how Crispin sent Nicole a dick pic, right? Well, there's 2 different ways things can go from here, and it's all up to Nicole.
I'm just gonna erase this. Ugh. I was literally raped through a phone just now. School was bad before, but now I gotta deal with seeing him there.
Huh? That's odd. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm just gonna break character here for a second. If you've really been paying attention, you should have realized by now that there's a heck of a lot of cases where Nicole actively chooses a non-malicious or kind way of going about things. This is not a new idea. However, these paths are usually paired with the exact opposite.
Then again, he kinda just put himself out there like that. Send it to her, send it to her, send it to him. Barely know him, but let's give it to him too. Send it to her.
Okay, Crispin gets laughed at, yada yada. Then the principal enters the scene, tries to get a handle on the situation, and then, speaking based on future context, calls Nicole's mom.
Oh, sweetie, what happened? It's okay, you can tell me.
You won't be mad?
No, you didn't do anything wrong.
Well, I don't know. He sent me the picture and just wouldn't stop texting me. I'm sorry I'm a disappointment, Mom. I'd want a daughter who gets A's on math tests instead of D's to the face.
Stop it. I love you, okay? Is there any way I can make this better? Anything at all?
Well, maybe some new, less revealing outfits so boys stop hitting on me?
What? How many?
A whole wardrobe. Just to get me through to graduation.
No, sweetie, you can't shift your whole life around over one abuser. I'm calling the school to get him expelled.
Oh, all right. I guess that's fine too.
And if they don't, I'm filing a lawsuit. We'll even move if we have to.
Wow, she actually seems like she really cares about and trusts Nicole. Is it really as simple as that? Is she really just a bit unstable?
Mom, still, I can't believe you're taking the school side with this. It's totally against all my citizen rights.
They had you sign something that waives those rights. You're 16, you don't even have rights.
Well, you do, right? Sue the school or something.
You're at the only public school for miles and miles. What happens if you're gone for good, huh? I'm not moving again. I'm not paying for private school, and I'm definitely not homeschooling.
From just this first part of their conversation, we can already gather that she doesn't take accusations seriously unless it's not Nicole. Or well, all we've really got the evidence to say is that she trusts the principal a heck of a lot more than her daughter. And there's actually a multitude of reasons this is valid, aside from having a possible romantic relationship with her, of course, but I'll just have her say it for me.
You've been pulling the sexual assault card since you were 12. Hasn't happened yet, has it?
Nicole's the boy that cried wolf. It isn't that she doesn't care about her when she says shit like this.
Fine, I won't blow it then. I won't squeal a bit. A teacher could just rape the shit out of me, but I won't say a word because we gotta stay in this shithole.
Good. I'm glad we understand each other.
Okay, no. That's a lot. Nicole's mom is just incredibly erratic and has a short temper, and this is illustrated by how she can have such a different approach for 2 issues that are basically the same, with the only difference being that she doesn't trust her daughter's words. She cares about her daughter's issues and when people harm her, but I don't think she actually cares about the mind inside of her daughter, hence her being shallow. Sorry, I'm kinda struggling with this section. But let's talk about if her mom being in her life, and not some foster parent, is a good thing for Nicole. Probably not. Her mom, when she's not mad at her, is an enabler for Nicole. And not just that, she even goes as far as to plant dangerous views inside her head, such as feminism not being a real belief. But I want to look at some examples of Nicole beginning the path of manipulation, her seeing that, and either just shrugging it off or saying, "Be kind, honey, give everyone a chance, even if they're a pedophile."
You're being nice, right? Trying to get along?
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that's my problem. Never putting up a fight. Never telling men I'm not their emotional wheelchair.
Well, sweetie, I'm not sure if being confrontational is the key to happiness. You're a beautiful girl. Don't have an ugly personality towards anyone.
So I should, spread myself thin so anyone can have a place in my life?
Don't put it so negatively. All I'm saying is, be inclusive. Give people a chance.
What if they're bad people?
I don't believe in anyone being inherently bad.
Yeah, I guess the pedophiles trying to abduct me on MySpace are just misunderstood.
Always a negative spin. Just promise you'll try. Try to be nice and make time for people. The connections you start early come in handy later on. Don't screw up here.
Ugh, fine.
Thank you. I promise it'll pay off.
I'll be your enabling little princess.
Yeah. He shot with Nicole. He is her break point. Though, I can't help but think, there's something about Nicole. Something that makes her stand out to me. Maybe she's more than just the sociopath the game portrays her as. Maybe she's not one at all. Nicole and Jecka are like two peas in a pod. They become best friends in literally every single playthrough. They even have the same, and that's why I'm making a direct link between the two analyses. There will be things in either section that will be important in the other. So stay on your toes, dear watchers. It's time for... Jecka, or going by her real name, Jessica, is essentially just a tamer version of Nicole. They share so many similarities that I think the only thing that kept her from actually becoming Nicole is the fact that she's never been forced to move. But maybe it would have been better if she had at least once to get away from Braddock, you know? She'd at least not be a misandrist then. Anyways, I believe she has a disorder known as conduct disorder, CD for short. This is a behavioral disorder belonging to a group of such, known collectively as disruptive behavior disorders. Children diagnosed with these disorders need to be treated as soon as possible, as without intervention, substance abuse, mental illness, and personality disorders like ASPD are much more likely to develop as they grow into adults. Too late for Jecka though. She's already addicted to several drugs such as Xanax and paracetamol, and it doesn't just stop there. This addiction develops into something even worse after she graduates, with her stating that she wants to start cocaine. Okay, this introduction is probably making her look pretty bad, but Jecka isn't nearly as shitty of a person as she's made out to be. Like a lot of the other characters, her environment at school plays a huge role in a lot of the negative traits she exhibits. I doubt she'd be acting quite the way she does if it wasn't full to the brim with the shittiest people in the world. But now, without further ado, let's take a deeper look into her character and what made me believe that she has conduct disorder. Well, isn't this familiar? I'll just quickly get rid of all the symptoms that she doesn't exhibit, and now the ones we can't prove. There we are. Yeah, on top of the stuff we can't prove, there's a couple that we've already proven, so I'll just green those in, and we're done! Jecka's a bully. She actively jokes around with Nicole about pushing fat kids downstairs. She's one of the main people involved in the bully Jeffrey for his fetishes arc, and she's always talking shit. But she's not just any bully, she's a manipulative bully, even if she says she doesn't do it consciously. Okay, besides her just blatantly telling Nicole she manipulates people all the time, examples of this kind of behavior can be seen against Jeffrey, where she gets all friendly with him and then claims that in order to show her affection, he's gotta give her money. Now, assuming he's the messenger, this might just be what he's talking about in the 7th message, where he writes, "They think I'm a freak when I communicate any notion besides generosity." Of course, in relation to the girls that might consider him. If I'm correct, Jecka could just be one of those girls he believes will consider him, although we as the player know that's just absolutely not true. Either way, that's a whole lot of lying, bullying, and well, essentially stealing. Considering all that I've just said, the stuff I'm about to get into could seem pretty ironic, but who cares? While she's quite the manipulator herself, Jecka's shown to be pretty weak-willed on her own, being so easily manipulated that in a matter of a single day, she went from being so anti-racist to the point that she couldn't even stand being in the same building as Mr. White, to being his right-hand girl. The sole reason he actually managed to accomplish his goals of genocide. Back to when she has Nicole as backup, she's perfectly fine. She remains snappy and quick-witted against her opposition, but that future's gone. Even if Nicole isn't exactly in agreement with her new beliefs, Jecka's already corrupted. Okay, that's definitely not a good thing, but it confirms that she's not just following Nicole. She genuinely needs backup or she'll be vulnerable to smooth talking. Why? The answer lies within her backstory. Jecka's backstory isn't very clear. She only tells us snippets of her home life, maybe a single sentence to comprise the entirety of her time at Lake Braddock, so I'm gonna have to reach a little bit into some theorizing territory. Jecka's had a traumatic upbringing. Her mother's abusive, addicted to drugs, obviously not really parenting her, only punishing. And abuse just in general is a great way to send someone's self-worth down the drain. But if your own personal wishes are constantly invalidated with no good explanation, just a painful slap to the face, your capacity for standing your own ground against people in power is definitely going to diminish. I believe you'll also be much easier to convince that you and your perspective are in the wrong when you never hear anything else. Like, I know I've already mentioned it already, but when a child runs away or starts skipping school, that does not warrant serious threats. On top of all that, there's also a very real chance that there's extremist views circulating in a household like Jecka's. So there's also a very real chance she's already internalized those perspectives, leading to this all happening so much easier. Now, I want to talk about her relationship with Nicole, as well as the types of things it can tell us about her. Starting off with how she's somewhat of a leash for the girl, holding her back when she gets carried away or starts to go too far. The best example of this is on something we've already covered, the court case. Jecka understood that lying on the scale of actual damaging allegations is not only dangerous, but just too far, and something that she does not want to get dragged into. This shows her understanding of consequences. However, I doubt that's the only reason she tried holding her back. Jecka genuinely cares for Nicole. She's even the reason behind the only time we see her demonstrate genuine remorse. Remember that story I told you about Nicole being too friendly with all the guys? Well, hours before Nicole gave up, right before the pivotal moment that ruined her, Jecka gave her an ultimatum.
You blow all your time on these idiots you don't even like, and now you can't even hang when it's someone you do like?
I know, but I'm too far in. It's gonna be a nightmare if I tell everyone to fuck off now.
You have a choice to make. It's either me or your hostage friendships. End of discussion.
Immediately after this, the guys come around, and you already know what follows after that. After hearing the news, she sends us a message. Miss you. I'm sorry. Nicole's already dead. She gains nothing from doing this, and because of that, I can only see one possible reason for the act. Jecka feels like she played a part in the suicide. Maybe she wanted some closure, maybe even though it was already too late, she just wanted to say sorry. But whatever the intent, her feelings were genuine. While it may be hard to believe, self-sacrifice is a concept within their relationship. The first time I saw it was during photography class. Mr. White was getting all uppity at Nicole for doing her makeup, and uncharacteristically, she backed down. But Jecka isn't just about to take that disrespect and not do something about it. She took the helm and stood up for her.
You can't talk like that to her.
I can talk any way I like, Jessica.
That's not my name. See? You don't respect any of the girls. A guy could just whip his dick out in here and you just politely say, that's enough.
You're on thin ice right now.
You're on your fourth wife right now because you couldn't make it as a photographer.
While it did end up getting the both of them sent straight to the principal's office, she disadvantaged herself for another person, because she could have just stayed quiet. Back over to the symptoms page, here's what we're working with. As you can see, she more than qualifies for a mild diagnosis, considering the bare minimum is only 3 qualifiers, on top of the fact that her actions do have a moderate effect on those around her. Not as much as Nicole, but still considerable. However, this doesn't really illustrate just how much she demonstrates behaviors characteristic of conduct disorder. Just take a look at this more specific diagnosis from my research document. I only use this one because it's made directly with the DSM-5. Anyways, it's pretty clear that she has it. But no matter what you may say, I still believe that she's redeemable. She just needs help. Principal Lynn is Jecka as an adult. Not literally, I mean, it's just Just look at this. She's a massive piece of shit who openly admits to using her body as a ticket to success. But what did she say her biggest shortcoming is? Allowing her sympathy and desires to get in the way of it all. In other words, she lets herself become the manipulated. Guess who also allows herself to be easily convinced and has openly admitted to unconsciously taking advantage of men? On top of that, Jecka also has an oddly similar pattern of enabling, or well, just having similar beliefs to Nicole as our irresponsible principal, always agreeing with and egging her on to do bad things. Of course, only the minor things, like destroying the photo lab. Okay, so there's definitely a lot more than just Jecka becomes Principal Lynn. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that that's the only possible way it could turn out, but I think at the very least, there's a really good chance she does. And the only thing that's gonna stop her is if she never ends up grasping any of her ambition. Right now, all Jecka wants to do is run around and do drugs. Maybe manipulate a couple guys on the side, but there's no real goal with it besides freeloading. Lynn, on the other hand, is working as a principal. And if there's one thing I know, they get paid quite a bit. Pretty much the exact opposite of a normal teacher. And considering the fact that she screwed half her staff, I can only imagine how she got in that position. The way I see it, Jecka's either going to resolve to use her inherent gifts for proper success, or just end up freeloading. I know I'm being a bit harsh on her, but do you really think she's gonna go anywhere else if her main goal is becoming a fucked up drug addict than marrying a doctor that believes they can fix her? A girl traumatized to the point where she's now the traumatizer. Nicole is the main character of Class of 09, a 16-year-old girl who after years of instability, years of abuse, and a single gunshot, snapped. Now, emotional fronts are useless against her. She'll never allow herself to be swayed by something so stupid after all. Or would she? I think that just like Jecka, Nicole isn't as bad as she's portrayed to be. Keep in mind, isn't as bad as still bottom of the barrel filth, but she's not remorseless. She's not without empathy. There are two people besides Nicole who are important in this discussion, Jeffrey and Jecka. Nicole's relationship with these two reveals the innermost parts of her character, and before I forget, I should rectify something I said earlier that wasn't quite right. Jeffrey isn't the antithesis of Nicole. They're actually a lot closer as characters than you'd think. Nicole's life before the events of Class of 09 is pretty straightforward. She was always a loner, a perpetual new kid. In Jeffrey's words, an undesirable. And that's all because of her abusive loser of a mother that could just never hold a relationship, always forcing the family to move, always keeping them on edge, never letting them feel a sense of stability. This time in her life is primarily where I associate her with Jeffrey. However, she never truly loses that aspect of her character, and I'll illustrate that soon enough. Nicole hit puberty. She started to grow, become pretty, make friends, and coincidentally, at the exact same time, her family finally began to settle down. An entire year passed. Everything is perfect. She's even popular now, hanging out with a pretty girl she always envied like it was nothing. But all good things eventually have to come to an end. Her brother got busted. They had to move. Nicole obviously was opposed. She'd finally gotten some peace in her life. She was finally happy. And so, she ran away. Away from her bastard of a mother. Away from her creeper of a brother. All the way to the one person she thought might take her in. Her father. As she stepped up onto the porch, she was too late. Pow! Her one way out of this terrible situation had just blown his brains out. Opening the door, she could see just mere feet away from his body, a note attached to the fridge with a cute little Cookie Monster magnet.
All he wrote on it? Nicole's fault. I'm Nicole, by the way. Hi. What the fuck did I do to him?
Well, we'll never know. But what we do know is that this was the final straw before she snapped. So, do you see the parallels between her and Jeffrey yet? Despite what he says, she's the one person who might actually understand him. I mean, their only difference is that Nicole got lucky and grew out of it. Or did she? I don't think so. I see Nicole's current situation as a different form of the exact same thing. She's still lonely. She's just lonely in a crowd of people. I mean, all eyes are on her, but they're not looking at Nicole. They're looking at Nicole's body. Let me explain. Returning to the rope ending, all the guys saw her as nothing but a sex object. They didn't like her for her. And then here, the ending's about Kylar's biggest jump yet. Once again, none of the girls actually like Nicole. They see her as cool because a guy killed themselves over her. Just so incredibly messed up. She's not completely on her own though. I believe Jecka's actually friends with Nicole for her, and not some stupid reason like the others. But even so, it's not like people like that are common. She just got lucky in finding someone similar to her. Yet, sadly, it doesn't even matter. Nicole's still emotionally repressed. While I do believe that truly on the inside, she does genuinely care about Jecka, love even, as you'll see in a mere couple of minutes, she still struggles to properly reciprocate their friendship, leading to lying outbursts like this.
You must have someone you'd like to stay in touch with after graduation.
Nope.
Not even your friend Jessica?
Jecka's like, okay, but I'm not going out of my way to hang out with her.
For whatever reason, Nicole's trying to bury the fact that she enjoys Jecka's company. She likes her. And because of that, whether she's got no one or everyone, Nicole is still lonely. Sorry, I know, I've been edging you for quite a while now. Let's talk about Nicole's capacity for empathy and remorse. First though, I need to define what exactly those terms mean, and why they're relevant, just for the sake of everyone who isn't deep diving Class of '09. Empathy is defined as the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. So, say if someone's crying, if you have the ability to feel empathy, maybe you'll feel a bit sad too. Remorse is defined as a feeling of regret, and if you feel it, maybe you'll wish that thing that caused it turned out a little bit differently, or you could even try to rectify it. And the reason these two feelings are important is because a person afflicted with sociopathy simply can't feel them, or at the very least they're incredibly limited. Now, Nicole demonstrates an ability to feel and act upon these feelings, so what I'm trying to say is that she's not a sociopath. Yeah, I know I've been hinting at it for quite a while now, but I'm guessing it's still pretty hard to believe for all of you that have played the game. Well, I'm not here just to make baseless claims. On to Kylar. This is his house. Pretty nice, right? He somehow managed to get Nicole over, and she's already trying to steal and just get the fuck out of there. So, safe to say it's not going the best. Until he opens up.
You ever heard that one phrase, we can either choose intelligence or happiness?
No.
Well, assuming it's real, I don't feel bad telling you to never talk to me again. Your dipshit brain shouldn't take it too hard.
No. You don't understand.
You're not. Are you crying?
It's just... No. You're being mean to me.
Whoa, hey, don't... You know.
Maybe Coach was right.
Sorry?
No, it's whatever. I'll just go to the lacrosse convention alone this weekend. That's why I wanted a girlfriend, I guess.
Oh, you're going alone?
I guess. Whatever.
This is awkward.
I'll just jump off the roof so I have a good excuse not to go.
Do you want me to go to the lacrosse convention with you?
You would do that?
I guess.
Oh, cool. I'll pick you up this weekend. Thanks.
This is obviously not the best example I could pull out, but it makes sense. Kylar's really fucked up and he's obviously using some manipulative tactics here. But the thing is, they work. Nicole has stated herself that she hates it when guys use emotions to gain leverage on her, and this is a case of a guy who she literally hates doing it. It shouldn't work on her. Unless she's able to understand the feeling of being alone, what he's going through. I think we're gonna need to look deeper if we want to figure this out. Okay, we've already talked so much about Nicole and Jecka's relationship that I doubt I really need to prove anything, but still, I want to take a look at the other side of Jecka's ultimatum. how Nicole reacted to it. Right out of the gate, Nicole understands the people hostaging her are creeps. She knows that if she stops giving them attention, they'll probably still look for it, just a lot more one-sidedly. So, this ultimatum isn't really about choosing between Jecka or all the guys. It's more, don't get stalked or stay friends with me. Just before you go and hate Jecka, she showed remorse for this, and I doubt she even knew the extent of what she was actually asking Nicole to do. Plus, considering Nicole was kinda neglecting her for them, it's not the worst thing in the world she's done. Anyways, Nicole debating the choice basically sums it all up perfectly.
Fuck. Well, now I gotta think if I love you more than I hate being stalked.
If you don't have an answer by 4th period, I'll have one for you.
Yeah, she doesn't just go and say that's stupid or anything, she genuinely considers it, and just couldn't make a choice. This leads me to believe that she has the capacity to understand why Jecka was doing this, and not just on a pure logistical level, on a genuine emotional one. On top of that, she used the word love to describe her feelings toward her. She loves Jecka as a friend. Probably. The single biggest example of Nicole's empathy and remorse is with Jeffrey. How ironic. Well, what happens when Nicole actually believes Jeffrey when he says he's gonna kill himself? She fixes it.
I mean, you don't have to kill yourself over this, do you?
In the realm of the living, I am nothing more than a punchline for others' amusement. This is not the purpose I desired.
Well, what is?
I don't know.
So if you die now, you'll never know.
Don't try to talk me out of it. There's really no place for people like me.
What are people like you like?
I want 40-foot tall women with cat features to step on me.
You really think that's the end of the world, though?
What do you mean?
So you want more than missionary. Big deal.
Okay, so it's not the end of the world. It's still the end of my social life.
Jeffrey, what social life? All you did was read anime books before. You're still reading anime books now. Did you stop jerking off to porn of comically tall women?
No.
So what's the problem? Seems like everything's going according to plan.
You know, you're right. The only thing that's different is everyone knows now. Who cares?
Yeah, before they just assumed it.
Gosh, thanks, Nicole. You're a really good friend.
I'm sorry, what was that last word?
Maybe I'll see you at lunch tomorrow. Company always keeps the suicidal thoughts away. See ya.
First of all, holy shit, Nicole saved Jeffrey's life. Second of all, holy shit, Nicole saved Jeffrey's life. Her speech was honestly really, really well done. I know it seems crude, and it is, but that's the beauty of it. She doesn't like Jeffrey at all. No pandering to his emotions or lying, nothing except exactly what he needed to hear. I would go as far as to say that the only possible way she could have successfully delivered that speech is if she truly understood what Jeffrey was going through, his feelings, his struggles. And the only reason she would have given that speech is if at the very minimum she felt some level of remorse for her actions, which is confirmed by the decision leading into the scene. And I want to add, Nicole may have been at the root of this, but genuinely think about it. You're in Nicole's shoes. Some weirdo at school comes up to you and goes into vivid detail about all their fetishes. You are 100% gossiping to at least your close friends. Do not lie to me. And going past that, she never bullied him even once in that run. Straight up, she made him feel supported as he said this weird shit to her and then just left. I mean, I'm sorry if you disagree, but I just can't say Nicole's really the bad person here. The people we should be persecuting are the ones actually bullying him for it. Oh, and I'd like to mention, I know it might seem like I'm exaggerating how impressive her speech is, but Nicole set Jeffrey, a person she doesn't like, and for pretty good reason in a lot of cases, on the best path forward. Because you really can't change people. If you've got weird interests, a disorder, an abusive family, the correct path isn't to just hate yourself for it, it's to learn to live with it. To work on your troubles in a way that's comfortable and right for you. Nicole basically tells a simplified and crude version of this to Jeffrey, and he's receptive. Can you really tell me that just telling him he's worth it, and to not do it, while ignoring the root of the problem would have been better? So, Nicole has the ability to feel empathy and remorse. If you're still unconvinced even after all that, I'm sorry, but I've been holding back. Nicole is a bad person, but she's not even close to being blindly malicious. You as the player and the author as the storyteller are. Now, I'm guessing that's coming as a shock for most of you, but let's just have a little look back on all the crossroads in a game. You know, the choose your own adventure sections. There's a kind, nice, neutral way to resolve nearly every single situation in the game. And the choices aren't yours. They're what Nicole's currently considering in her head. Her decision-making process. You just happen to get the final word. And guess what? Most people are out for blood. Okay, if you are still doubting me at this point, after all of this, guess what? She literally says she has empathy after her speech.
Gosh, thanks, Nicole. You're a really good friend.
I'm sorry, what was that last word?
Maybe I'll see you in lunch tomorrow. Company always keeps the suicidal thoughts away. See ya.
This is what empathy gets you.
Okay, so along with the fact that you can't legally be diagnosed with ASPD until you're 18, this all leads me to believe that just like Jecka, Nicole has conduct disorder, not antisocial personality disorder. But the game literally opens up telling us she's a sociopath. Flocker, I've been watching you for a while, and a lot of the stuff you say is cool and makes sense, but this is just too far. Well, that's where one of my major theories about this game comes into play. Listen to the voice line telling you she's a sociopath.
Make no mistake. I'm a sociopath.
Notice anything about it? Let me play it again.
Make no mistake. I'm a sociopath.
Who's saying that she's a sociopath? Nicole! Not some omniscient narrator, not the game developer, not a psychologist. It's Nicole! I believe that she's self-diagnosing herself with sociopathy due to having similar symptoms as someone who has conduct disorder, and to help fit that image she's created for herself, she actively forces herself to act in a way that fits it, locking out her feelings, being mean to people, pretending Jecka doesn't mean anything to her. She's been taught by the people surrounding her that in order to survive, you can't love, you can't show weakness, and it's turned her into this. Nicole is a tragedy. Leading from that, I'd like to present to you the thought behind those last two sentences. Ever since her dad killed himself in front of her, blaming her, Nicole decided she'd give up on any sort of connection. Trying's a waste of time after all. If she's so bad while just trying to be a normal girl that her own father would do this, why should she try? If trying only leads to becoming a victim under your abusive family, a terrible adult, the pizza boy, then fuck them all. Everyone on this piece of shit planet is against you, so fuck them all! You owe nothing to them. Shitty environments breed shitty people. You think the Nicole of the now would go running to her father in a time of need? She still relied on people back then. That was her turning point. After so many years of being beaten by her mother, having her friends taken away over and over again, the one person she thought she could rely on in that moment was her father, and he killed himself blaming her. I know this might be a bad take, but I honestly just can't blame Nicole for how she is. Even now, we still see her try. And where does it get her? A one-way trip straight to her father. Nicole is self-aware.
Well, guess who didn't get expelled? Mom called again and threatened with a lawsuit. She forgot one crucial detail, though. I'm on the assisted income lunch plan, so they knew she couldn't afford a lawyer. Like 6 different alimony checks, and they're all going to hair bleaching. So we're moving. Again. Swear to God, I can never be satisfied. Not until it's too late.
While it's an exaggeration, she's saying she knows she takes things too far, and that it's not a good thing. She's not blaming anyone else for it. She's simply acknowledging the fact that she has issues with impulse control. As someone with those same issues, I relate to her saying that. So if there's one takeaway you should get from this video, it's that people in shitty environments will seem way shittier than they actually are. Nicole's got nobody she can rely on. She has issues. She has trauma. And they're only able to fester as she continues to stay alone. Okay, last interjection. There isn't really enough new stuff for it to warrant its own section, so let's talk about the video message. Specifically, this line of dialogue.
She gets too much attention to know how much it hurts to be me for a day.
Throughout the entire game, does anyone describe Nicole's personality? Does Nicole describe her personality? Does she talk about any of her interests, hobbies, likes, dislikes, anything? Yes, at least for one of those. Kylar said she's a bad bitch. But other than that, then there really isn't anything else. That's weird, isn't it? Why isn't there anything on her? I mean, look throughout every single line of dialogue. There's not a single instance of anyone asking anything about her. There's definitely some stuff that's a bit on the edge of it, like when Crispin tries to start up a conversation about gaming with her, she shut him down. Firstly, because he's weird as hell and she didn't even want to talk to him in the first place, but also because that conversation wasn't about her. It was about Crispin. To put it in layman's terms, these people want Nicole to like them, but because of how she looks, they don't care about getting to know her, to actually know her. They already like her. It doesn't matter. I should add, there are instances of the guys, well, asking questions. Now, you may be thinking, Flocker, you just said they don't ask her questions. But this isn't what you're thinking. Once again, they don't care about her. They force their own interests onto her, never spending a thought on whether or not she's actually interested. Like in Jeffrey's case, he forces his love of anime onto Nicole, not ever listening to the fact that she has said many a times that she doesn't like it nor care. Okay, back to the video. Damn. Nicole locks everyone out to avoid vulnerability, and the people who do get to talk to her don't even care to learn about her. She's alone, just the same as Jeffrey. Both their lives are awful. Jeffrey obviously doesn't understand this, and his ignorance led him to wail on and insult her. Honestly, this type of situation could be made out as an analogy used to represent how people will often only make surface-level judgments about others based on their own situation and views, without properly being able to put themselves in the other's shoes. I'm really sorry for the sudden tone shift, but now that we're all on the same page with these characters, I want to talk about the themes of Class of 09, and believe me, I was flabbergasted when I realized how amazingly everything ties up if you just think of it through a specific lens. Attention. More specifically, the extremes of attention. Now, most of this is pretty straightforward. You've got characters like the coach who don't get the most attention, though he is giving a lot of it, and all of it is disgusting. Then we've got characters like Crispin who don't seem to be an extreme, but if we look a little bit closer at the characterization, we can realize that that just isn't the case. Well, abrupt and much, sorry the section's been so short, it's just that it's actually not. Did you really think that was just gonna be it? It's time for the themes. I mean, the real themes, that was a real theme though, never mind, you get it. This is where the game takes place. Lake Braddock. A school. Obviously, the core values and beliefs the creator's trying to get across are going to have some relation to this. But what could they be? Well, let's take a really broad look at what Class of 09 actually is. It's a visual novel. A visual novel about a school, a grade inside that school, a girl inside that grade. That girl has mental issues, she's hot, she's manipulative, but she's gotta deal with a lot of bad people. This feud between her and them makes up a lot of the story of Class of '09, and it's a story about social issues. They're not limited to just those affecting the girl it's about. There's a heap more, and don't worry, I'll talk about all of them. Anyways, let's discuss what those social issues actually are. The paradox of being nice. I've seen a good video on this topic, go check it out if you're interested, but only after you finish this. Anyways, essentially what this is the idea that being nice isn't always a good thing. That's weird, right? Being nice is something to be strived for. If you ever want to have any relationships with other people, you've got to be nice. People like it when you're nice, but what does it mean to be nice? Well, the word's defined as kind, friendly, maybe polite, but that's only a surface level diagnosis. To get further into what the word nice actually implies, I'm going to ask you this one simple question. What is it like to be a stereotypical nice person? Tell me how you live your life. Okay, let's get the obvious stuff out of the way. You're going to be likable. People will want to talk to you. They'll want to be friends with you. Cause and effect, you'll be more popular. And maybe people will be more likely to offer you their kindness in return. This is where it should end. If you are a kind person doing nice things, this is where it should end. But it doesn't. These people who you're befriending, they like you because you're a good person. You do things for others. You help them, you validate their concerns, you give them advice, you listen. And they'll come to expect it from you. Being a nice person can trap you in a cycle of giving parts of yourself away, giving up on your own opportunities to further others, never voicing your true opinion, always allowing yourself to be taken advantage of. Obviously, this doesn't apply to everyone, but sadly, much of the world is a bad place, and that's exactly the type of environment Nicole is living in. You can see this type of thing play out with the nice girl endings. Whenever you're nice, you end up killing yourself. Your inability to say no just got exploited over and over again. It built up. They saw you as their property. It built up. Disgusting lies are spread about you because you refuse a single person. They all turn on you. The next group of social issues I want to talk about are about how people perceive negativity as opposed to positivity, and the topics surrounding that. And while there's quite a few, all of it can be surmised under the phrase negative bias, and they're mainly portrayed through the storylines involving Mr. White, the school's resident photography teacher, as well as white nationalist. Before I get into this, I just want to clarify that when I use the words positive and negative, I am by no means expressing my opinion on what is good or bad. I'm merely referring to whether something has a positive connotation, like a compliment, or negative connotations, like an insult. Okay, back to the video. Negativity is much more powerful in comparison to positivity. People don't like to admit it, saying things like good always prevails, or insert random movie quote here. But in reality, humankind's bias towards negativity has been a long known and long closed topic. I mean, if you don't care about the scientific studies, just think about it. For every bad thing, do 5 good things to make up for it. That's something that's stuck in my mind for a very long time, and it really does put into perspective where the two ends of the spectrum lay out. To show you what I mean in a practical sense, I'm going to conduct 2 short little tests. These will consist of you being shown 10 different words over 15 seconds, then I'll ask you to try and recall as many of the words as you can. Here we go. I'm guessing you did a little bit better on the first test, and at this point, I'm sure you can guess the reason why. Negative bias. This phenomenon actually has a really good reason behind why it exists, and it all comes down to the way we humans have evolved. Let's rewind the clock back to when we were all just hunter-gatherers. You could literally die at any moment from anything. Imagine you're just sitting at the fire and a random-ass tiger jumps out and mauls you. Paying attention to things that scare us or that we don't like, remembering things in vivid detail that have hurt us in the past, even holding a grudge with Jimbo because he stole your fried mammoth. It was all a matter of life or death. Compare that to someone giving you something, hearing about something good, or having fun with friends. There's a pretty big disparity, right? Even though the modern world is very different from the one good old Jimbo lived in, we still maintain a lot of our evolutionary characteristics, and this is just one of them. The issue is when people take advantage of it. There's a whole heap of ways this can be done, and the outcomes are just as vibrant, like how people ended up believing there's nanobots in vaccines or that they cause autism, but I'm only going to talk about the ones we see in the game. Mr. White's methods initially come across as an abuse of ego. He tries to get the students to feel pride about their white heritage, but every so often he tries sneaking in a different kind of manipulation. I'll reiterate, he first tries to make them feel good about how they're white. Then he tells them about how the other races have already been getting these movements, and have been for a really long time, which paints them as a target of resentment. They have something that they have been manipulated to want, after all. Within Jecka, we can view the first stage of this. Here, take a look.
So, how'd things go with Mr. White?
Okay, yeah, about that. So, I was talking to him, kinda confronting him, and his arguments weren't that out there.
I don't get it. He's a political extremist. How is he not out there?
See, we said that, but he asked me why it's okay to do Black Pride and Mexican Pride, but not White Pride, and I really didn't have an answer for him.
So you just kinda backed off then?
Well, not exactly. I kept asking more and more about it, and we actually agreed on a lot. He wants me to do a shoot with him this weekend for the White Pride Party's blog.
And what'd you tell him?
I said absolutely. Nothing wrong with being proud of your heritage. Why not? Plus $50 for the day.
Did he mention an ethno-state for white people?
He might have briefly gone into it. Mr. White kept telling me how pretty my skin was. I wasn't paying attention. What's an ethno-state anyway?
A country where all the non-white races are kinda exterminated.
Oh, it's probably not even that serious. All I know is I'm proud to be white.
As you can see here, Mr. White cloaks his negative ideologies and hatred into a positive package. More specifically, thanks to the students' ignorance, he was able to make them believe they're being harmed, restricted from having something. Whether that something ties into real-world issues or complete garbage, that doesn't matter. The method still works. Then, he'll give him an outlet to fight against this, to rise up. To put it into real-world terms, imagine you're a privileged 14-year-old kid. You've got everything you could ever want or need. Then some troublemaker comes along, tells you, look at you, living in your boring-ass sheltered lifestyle. You're just a cog in the system. End up working for someone, working for someone, working for someone. And what'll it get you? Nothing. You'll work till you're dead. And you'll get nothing for it. But looking at you, I see potential. You ain't like the other sheep, so come on, join us. We rebel. We ain't part of the system, we fight it. And we gon' win. Now you've joined a gang and threw away every little drop of your education. And by the way, this is by no means a defense for the way our current working class is treated, or an attack on people just doing what they have to survive. The people I'm talking about are those that take those very real issues and misconstrue and abuse them. That's the focus. Okay, so whether you continue to fall or realize how stupid you were and manage to claw your way up, you were completely and utterly manipulated. And however unrealistic the dialogue, it's a very real discourse, and the primary reason that people like Andrew Tate are even allowed to exist. Somebody comes up with a make-believe enemy, pins a bunch of stuff on it, both real and imagined, and then makes you feel good, telling you that you're different, and that you'll win in life if you just listen to them, join them, and, well, all of a sudden you're committing hate crimes, doing drugs, falling with no way up. See, the way this can be categorized as in part an abusive negative bias is because of the pipeline. You might have only originally gone along with it because of all the positive stuff, the sense of community, but as you slip deeper, as time goes on, hate starts to envelop you. Before long, the only thing on your mind is this hatred. It's already consumed any semblance of that positivity, and Jecka embodies every single stage of this pipeline. Think back to her ordering the murder of Jeffrey. Was she still spouting all that positive nonsense? No, she was calling him a race traitor. And this isn't the end. Take this final conversation between Jecka and Nicole and do with it what you will. But no matter what you say, she is corrupted. Absolutely and completely.
So, how's Mr. White doing?
Well, he gave medals to everyone who killed Jeffrey, so I take it he's pretty happy. But can I vent? Like, they're not even medals, just little shirt pins.
Yeah, fatal excommunication's definitely one of the less gratifying felonies. At least when you rob a bank, you get money.
Speaking of Mr. White, he's like obsessed with you.
Still?
Always asks about you, always talks about you.
What was the last thing he asked?
He asked if Montana sounded like a good name for a death camp.
No, about me.
Always about you? Okay. Well, he wasn't really asking, just wondering aloud if your hair was too dark for you to bear racially pure children.
What the fuck?
I know. It's so obvious you dye it, right? Right.
The paradox of popularity. The more likable or popular you are and the more connections you make, in general, the less real and close those very same connections are. In 1993, this idea was quantified into actual scientific study, with the number being around 150 acquaintances and 5 close friends, although this was later proven to a degree as inaccurate, with the actual figure being even larger, but the point still stands. We've already talked about this, so I'll just finish up here. Nurture versus nature is an already widely explored topic, and I at least hope that everyone knows by now that the answer is both. They both have around the same overall impact as the other. However, Class of 09 isn't the real world. I now beg the question, if we only use the characters from the game as a reference, which is stronger, nurture or nature? Every disorder we see in the game, apart from autism, are at least in part learned. I mean, for example, with Kylar, narcissism is a disorder that can arise from a lack of support during childhood. It isn't exactly hard to see the connection. And then, personality disorders just in general have many roots to childhood trauma, neglect, and rejection. And every single character we've covered has more than their fair share of those. Moving on to a newer topic, in our 2 main girlies' households, there's excessive drug abuse by their parents. You know who else shares that trait? Nicole and Jecka are both shown to abuse drugs themselves. And there's more than enough evidence to say that being predisposed to substance abuse as a child leads to a much higher likelihood of substance abuse as an adult. Nature versus nurture doesn't just have to be about personality. Okay, this next one's pretty simple. If you're born in a household that has a majority audible belief, especially in the late 1990s and early 2000s before the internet was as widespread and powerful as today, you'll probably develop that belief yourself. This is the transmission of values throughout generations. While the phenomenon doesn't exactly take the center stage in Class of 09, I believe that the character's behavior can be partly attributed towards this idea, given the fact that we all know they come from broken and dangerous households. Finally, the school in of itself is actually a terrible nurturing environment for most of these kids, especially in the case of someone like Crispin, who isn't inherently that bad, but after many years of witnessing normalized sexual assault and harassment, he started to be like that himself. The effects of vanity in our culture. I'm gonna be completely honest, Nicole explains this better than I ever could.
I thought about what Miss Lynn said for months into my first fully legal summer. The manipulation was still fun. What got harder was the escape plan. Now that I was 18, I couldn't just resort to calling older men pedophiles for dating me. I slowed down a bit. Maybe I should start a movement that makes my attitude more common, but it'd be a ton of work to promote. And that's when I learned the grand irony of being pretty. It destroys your dopamine levels. You don't want to do shit. Dudes just buy me drinks, give me things, everything. What incentive do I have to try? Is this why women make less? We don't feel like trying? Actually, I want a stat on the women who quit their small businesses. What % of them are hot? Or what if their business does really well because they're hot? I guess my point is, if our culture is ran by looks, the stats should take looks into consideration. I promise, I'll have a political takeaway from my high school years. I just need the numbers. Watching your dad kill himself really fucks you up.
Good looks get you a huge advantage in society. I mean, look at all the times that actual murderers have gotten defended by mobs of people simply because they're hot. In Class of 09, we see Nicole, in response to the incredible volume of awful men, abuse this idea again and again and again. Guys just listen to her, they do her bidding, they're glorified pawns in Nicole's game for survival. Even so, at the drop of a hat, everything can change. The manipulator becomes the controlled. An amazing metaphor to society and their relationship with celebrities. All it takes is a single person, whether that be an erotomanic stalker, just a worked up fan, some paparazzi, and their looks are turned against them. The idea of revenge, the act of revenge, the consequences of revenge, all deceptively complex topics that are incredibly difficult to pin down within the realm of video games. And the reason for this? Well, if you're not completely tuned in, it's just hard to differentiate between what's meaningless and what'll have me writing another whole 3 hours of video. Lucky for you guys, though, I overanalyze everything! And here are the results. The rumor, you're gonna be hearing this quite a lot, so you better internalize it. The act itself here doesn't carry the meaning. It's just a below pitiful man getting angry he couldn't bang a high school girl. What we care about are the implications of the act. Here's 2 big classifiers: act of superiority and disruption of superiority. Let's take our next example, Jeffrey sexually harassing Nicole in the locker room, and try to put it under one of these. But first, we'll have to understand what they actually mean. An act of superiority is usually triggered when someone in a power position believes that a person below them is threatening their grip on whatever they have stature in, and then they respond to this by using their power to, well, quell their anxieties. The coach's rumor is a good example of this. He believes he's entitled to Nicole, she shot that down, and he crushed her. In a sense, this form of revenge can be seen as transactional, where the aggressor is more than not seeking to gain something higher than just self-satisfaction. Something material. A disruption of superiority is fundamentally a very similar idea, except from a reversed perspective. As the name implies, the aggressor is usually the person with less status, and it can commonly be a response to an act of superiority. For example, you get laid off, so on your last day you screw with a bunch of stuff at work. You don't really gain anything from it, but your boss is sure going to be worse off, so who cares? Where an act of superiority is aiming to push people down, a disruption of superiority is meant to shake the pot, to screw with someone even if it doesn't benefit you. And this is exactly where Jeffrey's harassment fits. He views Nicole as nothing more than a person who gets more attention than him, and that just lengthens the already huge gap in status between them, leading him to desire nothing less than to shoot a hole in that gap, even if he doesn't get anything out of it. Alright, now that we understand the core fundamentals of what I believe revenge to be, it's time for us to move on to what this entire section was structured for me to talk about: my theory on Nicole's father. He killed himself in view of Nicole, blaming Nicole, traumatizing Nicole. Why would he do that? Before this event, we see no evidence that she's done anything even close to the level of what we see in the game. In fact, she even says that before Lake Braddock, she'd always feel negative feelings and want to do bad things after she had to leave, which, me personally, I think would be normal for anybody in that situation. So, if Nicole's misandrous malice didn't drive him to suicide, why did he do it? I think it was revenge on Nicole's mom. At this point in the game, they're obviously separated. He's living in an entirely different house after all, and it can be assumed that she has custody of Nicole since even though she's been moving around a lot, she's still with her. And if that wasn't already enough of a motive, Nicole's mom gets around. Remember, she's been divorced a total of 8 times. Divorced! If that's how many times she's been married, imagine how many boyfriends she's had. I mean, if I was him, I could totally see myself building up a huge amount of resentment for her. You definitely feel like you were being used, or at the very least, extremely unimportant. Disclaimer, I would not do what he did, I would let it go. Anyways, we've got a motive. We've got a reason to believe he was lying about it being Nicole's fault, but how are we supposed to know if he was really capable of that? We can only make assumptions here, it doesn't matter if they're reasonable. If we don't find reason to believe he's capable of such a heinous act, well, this theory's in the dirt. The first is a stretch, but don't you think it's a bit odd how this guy's supposed to be Nicole's dad? At this point in time, she's presumably around 15 to 16 years old. Throughout her life, she's had to move about 8 times. Do you see the issue yet? She's had to move around 8 times since being born, and this was caused by her mom getting divorced. Why is he still within running distance? I can see 3 immediate reasons why this might be the case. 1. He's a next-level stalker. 2. Nicole's mom is cycling back boyfriends because she knows they're desperate. 3. Insane coincidence. Okay, so the possibility this is all just some wild coincidence does put holes in the argument. I'll be honest with you, that's why I said it's a stretch. But what do you think's more likely? Obviously, one of the first two. And thanks to the fact that we already know Nicole's mom is that type of person, I'm going with big number 2. And that would mean we've got a desperate, resentful liar. But that's not even it. How does Nicole's mom have custody of her child? Think about it. She's giving her daughter an incredibly unstable lifestyle. They're having to move almost every single year thanks to the endless divorces. And she's actively abusing drugs. Who in their right mind would give custody to her? Now, we could be asking the question, why wasn't Nicole taken by CPS? But, to adjust for the best sake of the video, we'll just assume that it wasn't possible for one reason or another. I'd also like to address the fact that there would most likely be bias present within the court. Historically, mothers have won over 80% of normal custodial disputes, and are the primary decision makers in over 90% of joint custody situations. Mothers are both inherently and traditionally seen as caretakers, homemakers, and the person who should be the one to take care of their child. Me personally, I'm not educated enough on the topic to say whether or not this is reasonable, but either way, there's no disputing the fact that Nicole's mom possesses a very flat advantage in court, but this would by no means just allow her to win. The father, there would have to be at least something about him. Something that would make him unfit to take on the role of being a parent. And whatever it is, I think it's enough to back the motive. There isn't enough evidence to say any of this for certain. It's only a theory, but I'm almost certain he was lying about Nicole, and the effects of his actions have traumatized her for life. Okay, we're back to the true themes of the game. But this next social issue is going to be a little bit more real and relevant to the average person. Before you watch, please know that as someone who has never experienced what it's like to have this be part of your everyday life, I am in many ways ignorant about the topic. However, I do believe I understand on an objective level. If I'm incorrect with anything I say, I apologize in advance. The imposed responsibilities of women. Women are in general weaker than men, They're smaller, they've got less inherent muscle mass, and they're a lot less likely to know how to defend themselves. This immediately puts them in a less powerful position in comparison to the average man, and it can be seen everywhere. Though, just physical strength isn't the only place power imbalance takes form. In corporate settings, even though they comprise over half the world's workforce, women only make up 19.4% of CEOs, 32.5% of key management positions, and 33% of board members, showing a clear imbalance. These factors, along with many others I haven't mentioned, combined with the creep-pocalypse I've noticed going on, very likely caused by an uptick in less active parents, manipulative media like those dumb alpha podcasts, and a growing disconnect between men and women, or honestly just people in general, has led to the already hugely prevalent and terrible power imbalance only getting worse. Class of '09 tackled this social issue by showcasing the imposed responsibilities of women and how their lives are impacted by them. Let's get into it. 20 seconds into the game, we are introduced to this piece of dialogue.
God, they are never funny. It's like the girls just laugh to avoid sexual assault.
It only comes across as a random offhand joke, but as you'll come to see, it's a lot more relevant than you'd think, cementing the foundation for one of Class of '09's core themes. Moving on, everyone remembers Kylar's hamster tantrum, right? Well, here's the aftermath.
What's that?
What's what?
The gym clothes?
Oh yeah, the heat's cranked way too high here, so I just left class in this. I could finally breathe, you know?
Okay, well, you're the first girl I've ever met who isn't cold 24/7.
Yep, not cold at all.
What's wrong?
I skipped changing to get out of gym quick as possible, trying to avoid that lacrosse kid following me.
This is Nicole, right? I'm not gonna lie, this scene left me shook. It makes the rest of the game seem so much more real. Like, these people's messed up actions actually have impact on their peers. Of course, I'd seen worse happen at the hands of Nicole, but the consequences were sensationalized, so extreme my mind didn't really register them as, well, real. Okay, so obviously Kylar's behavior was completely and utterly insane. Interactions like those aren't going to be common and applicable to the majority of women in the world, but we can simplify. A man who's in a power position protected by their higher-ups tries to abuse a woman because she challenged him, thereby hurting his pride. The woman can't do anything about it, so they hide. They lost their voice. They were punished for challenging a man, and nothing was done about it. So they lost their voice. Being expected to just take whatever's thrown at you simply because the assailant has more power, that's only one of the many imposed responsibilities of pretty much anyone. But here, it's about how it affects women, and it's the one Class of '09 embodies most. Another example. Concert night. Nicole denies Coach Colby. He spreads rumors about her doing it with the entire football team. Her feelings don't matter, all you need to do is listen. Nothing else. Hearing about the rumor, every single guy who she'd hung out with suddenly expects sex from her. A woman who has sex is a slut. They're obligated to have sex with you as well. She tries to get help from the counselor, who's admittedly a pedophile, but the blame is slipped on her for talking to them. Just talking to men. That's leading them on after all, you're the one making them horny. She ends it all. In another route, where Nicole finally realizes that everyone around her believes this, she starts to go off the deep end. Her environment demands manipulation to survive, and she obliges. Believing she'd finally learnt the ways of the world, how everything is, how to survive and thrive here, she goes to her mom. And instead of feeling worry that maybe the place they're living in isn't so good for her daughter, or maybe it's just flat out dangerous, she assumes Nicole's the problem, telling her to just be a good girl. Nobody likes someone who isn't nice. Class of '09 is a comedy game. While there is a boatload of depth, more than I ever could have expected clicking onto it for the first time, I might just be looking into it a bit too much. But despite that possibility existing, everything I've discussed here is still relevant. A lot of real people have these opinions. A lot of real women are forced to experience these injustices. As a man myself, I'll speak to my share of the planet. There being things in this world that hurt men do not mean we should excuse things that hurt women, nor should it work the other way around. A perfect world is one where we all recognize each other as the equals we are. And listen, Listen and learn about each other, how we can work towards something better, where everyone is happier, not just one or the other, but everyone. For we are not on opposite teams, we are all born part of humanity, and the only thing that can divide us is ourselves. Okay, let's continue after what could have been the best outro ever. Come on, give me something for that. But really, do try to brand that idea onto your very being. Try to live with the goal of not only bettering yourself, but bettering those around you. Living to understand. Living so that your time on planet Earth means something. That you're not just a blip. That you really made a positive impact. No matter how small it is. For a world built on building each other up can only climb. Anyways, there's a couple other things I could mention in this section, so I'll just shotgun them out now. Indifference is wrong. Nicole discusses this during the chlorine bomb ending, when her indifference, not standing firmly enough against Jecka's clearly misguided beliefs, led her and many others down a terrible path. Manufactured prejudice. The way we cultivate harmful social environments or enforce gender norms without even thinking about it. This being seen systemically throughout society, primarily created by corporations just trying to make more money. Think of pointlessly gendered products, advertising, services, and media. All of that and more builds towards manipulating the average person into thinking gendered, and it's by no means your fault in almost every sense of the word. It's your environment, and the people in charge of it that are to blame. Damn, that turned into more of its own little section than a call-out. Anyways, there is quite a prevalence of showcasing various social constructs still in effect even today. But if I had to pick out a single topic that was the biggest thing I haven't covered yet, well, it's the way people reacted to the rapid cultural evolution going on throughout the 2000s. Such as how foreign media and those who enjoyed it were perceived by the general public during the baby stages of their rise in the West. However, that's all going to be reserved for the next section. What a link! Anyways, on to... I know this might be a bit hard to believe, but Lake Braddock is an actual school, and the story of Class of '09 is in part based on the creator's life going there. Of course, it's wildly exaggerated and made for the sake of comedy, but even so, there's still a couple neat things we can see that cement the connection between the game rendition of the school and the real-life one. Starting off with the name of the school, Lake Braddock Secondary School. No parody there, you can see the name in this little snapshot right here. And it's a cool little public school, it's highly rated and it has the receipts to back that reputation up. Moving on, the school is pretty sporty. It's got a team in practically any sport you can think of. And guess what that includes? Lacrosse! Yep, they actually have a lacrosse team. So who knows, maybe Kylar is a lot more real than just the game character. Anyways, taking a look at the date, a lot more purpose behind the events of the game reveals itself. It's made in part to represent that time period after all. In the 2000s, anime and other foreign types of media were still incredibly niche, with some accounts from fans at the time saying that it was so rare, if you actually found someone else interested in it, it didn't matter who they were, you instantly became friends. Obviously, that's an exaggeration, but you can really see that kind of mindset within Jeffrey. He constantly presses his love for the stuff onto Nicole, even going as far as to gaslight himself into believing that she likes it too. But that's just Jeffrey. Still, you can clearly see the date within the women's ideological views. Feminism, while already having been around for a very long time, could have easily been misunderstood thanks to the non-existence of what we know as the internet today. Furthermore, I could connect Kylar's closeted nature as being a product of the time, but a lot of people are still closeted now, and there always will be at least one. Even so, even in a developed country like Australia, gay marriage was only legalized in 2017. That would 100% shoot the odds of him ever coming to terms with his sexuality straight into the dirt. Really speaks to how recently we realized it's okay to be gay. Now, returning back to the concrete connections, a lot of people in Class of '09 are fucking real! It's Principal Lynn! Wait, you don't recognize her? My bad. Haircut, of course. This should help. Anyways, despite the new look, it's definitely her, and there are more than enough things backing that. After all, she's still up to the same old shit. Oh, look at you interrupting the video. Was there something you wanted to show me? Ooh, that's so cool. Wait, you're real too? Wait, what the? Well, I mean, surely you can't be as bad as you are in the game, right? Right? What the fuck? Are you guys seeing this? This is real. Why is this real? I'm sorry. I really don't want to talk about this stuff. This isn't the place. I can't give it the tact it deserves. Okay, I looked, and I can't find any more easily accessible sources on people I can connect to the game. But I'm sure there are at least stories out there. If you personally see anything new on the topic, comment below. I look forward to seeing it. Sorry.
I like killing people because it is so much fun. It is more fun than killing wild game in the forest because man is the most dangerous animal of all. To kill something gives me the most thrilling experience. It is even better than getting her rocks off with a girl. The best part of it is that when I die, I will be reborn in paradise. And all those I have killed will become my slaves. I will not give you my name because you will try and slow down or stop my collecting of slaves for my afterlife.
This message isn't just a parody. It's not even original by the creator. It's a direct copy of the July 31st, 1969 cipher message from the Zodiac Killer. That's fucking crazy, right? Why the hell did they actively go through the trouble of getting that specific message? Why didn't they just keep writing their own messages? Well, my first thought was that Class of 09 might be an origin story for Mr. Zodiac, but the game takes place in the late 2000s, so it's nearly impossible to think he was even alive then, let alone a high school student. Just remember, he committed his crimes decades ago. So, in origin? No. Then I moved on to the idea that Jeffrey grew up to be a Zodiac copycat. Copycat killers are not a new phenomenon, so it's entirely possible, based on the evidence at hand. Oh wait, I haven't told you much of that yet. Let's go through every connection Class of 09, or more specifically, Jeffrey has to the Zodiac Killer. Jeffrey is obviously capable of murder. There's his incredibly brutal thoughts put on full display throughout his messages. His clear motive, broken household, and mental disorder. Him literally committing a mass shooting. Why do you think he'd become a copycat killer, though? Well, their formulation can generally be derived to a sick kind of admiration, where someone broken begins to idolize a killer. In a way, it can be a kind of escape from reality. Your life's horrible, and you know exactly who's behind it. If you could just take charge and be like those awful people, surely they'd disappear. Through this lens, looking closer into the connections between the Zodiac and Jeffrey, we can begin to see how he may have fallen down that path. Jeffrey's intelligent. The Zodiac Killer created 4 incredibly complex ciphers where even after decades of analysis by the FBI and the entire internet, only 2 have been solved. And on top of that, he was never caught. You could even say something like an anime antagonist, and I know that's weird to mention in such a serious analysis, but remember, Jeffrey's a weeb. It's definitely not a stretch to assume that could have been a contributing factor. Now, he's identifying with the killer on a superficial level, but I don't think that would be enough for him to follow him down the path of murder, except they've got somewhat common goals. Jeffrey's highly envious of anybody in a relationship, or well, he's envious of the concept of attention. He has no one after all. This could lead him to identify with the Zodiac's goal of being served, of having an army of slaves that make his afterlife what he wished of his time on planet Earth. And going even further, the Zodiac was known for being a couple killer, and while it could have just been him attempting to be efficient in gathering slaves, Jeffrey may have connected with this idea, making him believe that the Zodiac shared his inherent hatred. Finally, the Zodiac Killer was an attention seeker. Why else do you think he sent all those letters to those news stations, police, and whatnot? He craved that attention. Jeffrey's the same. He just wants to be seen. This theory's pretty paper thin, but I thought it was cool how I could find so many different possible links. And if by some chance it's intentional, well, that's pretty cool, isn't it? Anyways, if you think you've got anything to add to the conversation, any theories, ideas, whatever, I would love to hear them. So, if you have them, well, leave them down in the comments below. To answer the question from the beginning of the video, I can't. I disagree with the notion that there's even an answer in the first place, at least a real one. For wrong and right, it's all perspective, and while I do believe Nicole and the others are just victims of their environments, continually forcing each other into further exaggerated forms of themselves, you're free to disagree with that. You could just say that the right thing to do would be to just be better, that they're wrong. Sorry, that might have been an unclimactic answer, but it's true! Either way, whether I managed to convince you of my perspective or not, I really do hope you've learned something today, and I'll bet you at least enjoyed your time with me. You made it to the end of the video after all. Anyways, on to the final segment of the video. Sheesh, this is giving me the jitters. Well, Alright, damn, this is a bit abrupt, but it's finally time for me to say, you've made it to the end of the video. It's really been a wild ride, hasn't it? You know, while it only would have felt like 3 hours to you, it's been a long 9-month journey for me. I learnt 3D animation, I became enthralled by psychology. It's my first time ever doing anything like this. And yet, it was still a lot of fun. And if I'm being honest, I think I did a pretty good job with it too. And I mean, if you've made it to this point in the video, I'd think you would as well. So, dropping a like, comment, or subscribing to the channel would be greatly appreciated. Now that I've released my first real video, I plan on getting heaps faster with the uploads, and I can't wait for you guys to see them. Also, I read every one of my comments, so if you've got any feedback for how I can improve my style, or if there's any games you'd like me to cover, then leave a comment down below. Oh, and one more thing. Class of '09 is my territory, game